I have no voice. Good morning.
Good morning.
Hello, dear. I have no voice.
We hear you.
I can hear you now. That's great.
You have
Good
taken
morning, everyone. You take a charge. You are leading.
I guess we're all waiting for Jason.
He's not here yet.
I don't see
G,
him.
G Factor is here. He's the one of the
Yeah.
leader. Yes.
So, folks, hey, I'm on a phone call on my other phone, so I'm going to be mute for a while.
Is that was G?
Yeah.
Hi, dear.
Hey, Lutz. I see you over there.
I think they're drinking coffee and getting ready.
Yeah, I think so. That's usually what Lutz is doing about this time.
It's just a little rum.
Oh, little rum
Just
in your coffee or coffee in
how
your
about how
rum?
about how about the Baileys?
Oh no, man, that's too sweet. Too sweet, that stuff.
How are you, dear?
All right. Just
Great.
waking up. Got one eye closed still.
I'm
Got to
almost
take
like
that
6 hours up.
got to take that patch off it. Off your one eye.
I need two patches so I can sleep better. Maybe something to stick in my ears so my wife and son don't wake me up in the morning.
Jason is working behind scene with developers now, so he's waiting to finish couple
Yeah, he'll be
stuff
here.
is coming in.
He totally forgot. He was crazy busy. I just spoke to him though. I'm pretty sure he'll be here.
Yeah, he spent couple hours yesterday working on mine, and he's my hero. Every time he
Oh, yeah?
touched my computer start working. I said, you know what's wrong with my computer?
What
It
kind of
just
hero?
he
Parmesan?
he just need a touch, a Jason touch. That's all.
What kind of hero is he?
Hmm.
What kind of hero is he? Is he a prosciutto,
He's no,
turkey and ham?
he's
What kind of hero are
touching.
we talking
I
here?
don't know. He's touching a computer. Computer start working and mending. I'm just saying, what's going on? I just tried many times. My computer not working, and he just coming in and go to my, whatever he does, like couple touch, and next minute I'm saying, oh, it's working.
Frozen ham. Frozen ham.
Yeah, it was him yesterday. He did that.
All he has to do is touch it.
Yeah, he just need to touch it. That's it. He's punching some magic numbers, and I see sometimes he write Jason, and I see, oh, okay,
The magic touch.
the magic touch. I think he does have. He's developing the computers these days. I think that is next time with the marketing we can work on that for I think is the way he telling me this computer will easily get a connection to blockchain and helping all the,
I think
uh,
I think what we really need is to we really need to get out there right now because things are bad for many at the moment. So it's tough for Jay to for Crow to pay people in Qortal when the price is like down to pennies. I mean, at this point, you're giving them a real like when you're paying people, and I do the same. When I got to give somebody $100 in Qortal, and it's like 1,000 Qortal, it's a lot, man. It's really not a good time to be giving away Qortal at the moment. Um, so it makes working, it makes making this happen even tougher. So we really need to like get more donations going to the dev fund to help him out, so he's less stressed. So maybe
I
we could do a call on the community where, we could get the community to start, throwing some funds at the dev fund, we need to express how important it is to make sure these devs, keep getting paid so that Qortal comes to fruition fully.
Yo, what's up, guys?
What's up, yo?
Hi,
So,
Jason. We're
So
glad to have you.
so
we kind of
do-
lost without you, Jason.
why? Because I'm the one who like just rambles all the time, and then everybody can kind of pick up off that, or what?
No, just
Exactly.
we love
Yeah,
you. We
that's what I
all love
thought.
you.
Right, yeah. Okay, so there's like a lot of really interesting stuff
Jason, you
going
want to
on.
record this?
Yeah, I was just gonna ask if you wanted me to do that if anybody else was doing it. So hold on a sec.
Yeah, you should record them every time if you can.
Yeah,
And
I don't
everyone
record for
Show
like
what he's
recorded,
1,200
on.
hours
everyone
though.
can post it, and we have 100 different recording every week from these meetings.
Yeah, just a
Yeah,
second. Hold on.
the
I've got a
official
recording
meetings.
too.
Pazir, you're recording too, no?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, so how did I do that before? Discord should already be there. Why is it not there?
I think Positier's got it covered, bro. You got it covered, right?
Yeah, it's
You don't have to worry
going.
about it.
But it's good to have many
Yeah,
of
Yeah,
having
many
multiple
of
is
us to
always good.
record it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
redundancy.
yeah. Let me.
That's what I
I'll
tell my
add
wife.
another one.
Going to.
That's what I tell my wife.
Okay.
If she doesn't believe me. I tell her
Window
redundancy.
app shipping.
You know, 2 wives, 3 wives. What's the? You got, you guys.
I think that's called polygamy, not redundancy. But same thing. Right?
Oh, more. I've lived this life of monogamy, and I think polygamy is the way to go, man.
Yeah, I think that would be way too much for me. No way,
You
man.
know,
I think
it's
handling one wife is just fine.
no,
Yeah.
no. You don't understand, bro. It's because you got to talk to her now. But if there was another girl in the picture, they could talk to each other. They leave you the fuck alone.
Hey, that's true. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Fucking guy. All right. Let me cut this off.
I think he doesn't have no time for girls these days.
Yeah.
He's so busy.
But that's the great part about polygamy. You go to sleep and they could talk to each other.
All right. Yeah, cool. I got it. Let's see. Yeah, desktop audio going, mic audio going. Okay. All right. So I'm recording now too. So just so we are aware of that. I think that's good.
You got an extra hand in the kitchen. You got an extra hand with the babies. I mean, I really don't see the downside over here.
I wouldn't expect anything less from you, Lutz. So yeah.
Lutz, are you up yet?
Ready to wake up. I'm halfway through my cup of coffee.
So yeah, that just so you guys know, we are doing a lot of testing right now on the testnet for Q apps. I might be able to show a few things. Let me see about getting my testnet node connected right now. I might be able to kind of take some pictures and show some things that are going on right now. We got a lot going on. I'm pretty damn excited actually. Like there's some pretty awesome shit going on. Like we have been waiting for this day for so long, right? Like getting Q apps going. This is a massive thing. I'm super excited. We just I want to show a few things. Let me see if I can get into this real quick. Hold on. But yeah, I'm stoked, guys. Like there's so much coming up that like people are gonna be like, where did this project come from? Like
Exactly.
like they're gonna be
Exactly.
like, holy crap! Like how is this possible that I didn't notice that this project was a thing when we're like, oh yeah, by the way, we could do this, and like what the hell? And it's completely decentralized, like in every possible way, and people will be like, wow, you know what I mean? So I think like it's gonna be to that point here really, really soon. Sorry, I'm getting into my testnet node. Give me a second. But yeah, dude, I'm really, really excited.
I think it's all the things that's happened during the last couple of years. Slowly, it have to be slow to be all get ready for the big, jump.
Yeah.
Because yeah,
Speaking of which, I know Lutz was kind of talking about this as I came in, but yeah, the dev fund is getting really low, guys. Anybody who has some coin to throw at the dev fund, please do so because we need to get some more coin in there. Or talk to your friends, help them get the price of court up because the price of court, the way it is right now, just doesn't work, guys. The model was not built for the price to stay this low for this long, and like we don't have like unlimited court to keep like spending at these ridiculous low prices. So like I have to send too much to the devs to keep things going, especially our full-time dev, and I'm not even taking anything for myself out of the dev fund. You know what I mean? Like I'm literally trying to spend as little as possible while making sure the devs are taken care of too. But like the price of court being this low for this long has really put like a hamper on the way things should have been going, right? So I'd expected
Is
things to
I
move a little
think
bit more quickly, but yeah, it is what it is, right?
listen,
The
we
problem
all
was the self-sponsorship shit delayed everything, and that really set us back quite a bit. So yeah.
I think we need to be more positive about whole this event we have, because I think our developers is not desperate right now. They are getting
So
support in the
right,
behind.
but we do have one full-time developer, which he does rely upon court, right? And so do I, and anybody who's full-time on the project, which there's
I
only a
tell you
couple
what,
of us
this is
right
what
now,
you
but
can
you know what I
do.
mean?
This is what you can do. You can take my minting coin and mint it right now because I'm traveling. I'm not minting, and you can give everything to him. I have
So you
no
know what you
problem.
can do? Just if you want to do that, Rose, that's fine. What you can do is just create a reward share key. I can show you how to do this later. Create a reward share key for however much percentage of your minting that you want to give to the dev fund, and I'll just set it up so you can mint directly to the dev fund for a while. That would be great. Yeah.
I have no problem. We can talk about it, but the point is what I'm saying. We all here to support them. We love them. And again, yesterday I mentioned to you, if they have enough coins saving on the side, because we all here not working for income, we all working for outcome, which
Right.
is I think. And if they save it on the side, and with the grace of God, which we know that 100% the value of the court coin will become very soon high, and that time they don't have no issue. We only, for this little time, we have to survive,
Right. Yep.
and we all be fine.
Yeah, I agree. It's just we got to get through this temporary downtime and get to where we have more demos. I really think that once we get these demos up, people are going to be like mind blown by the capability and the potential of the platform, and it's just going to be obvious at that point that we are like extremely undervalued. So and of course, like, and what Lutz brought up something yesterday, which I thought was like, I'm like, wow, it's just so crazy that the crypto space got to where it is today. Because, like, back in the day, if Qortal had come out in 2013, it would have been massive within a year or 2 years because
Because
it would have
it
been
didn't
done
come
all
because I was not
correctly.
part
Like,
of it.
well, I mean, we've been coming up with concepts and so forth, like basically since then, and starting to find the people. But it took a long time to get all this going, right? But like ultimately, it's crazy to me that it's acceptable now, and not only just acceptable, but basically expected that a coin project will have a company on top of it, and it will have an ICO, and it will get millions of dollars in funding initially. And if they don't do that, then they can't get listed on exchanges. They can't get anybody to pay attention to them. They can't get, like, it's exactly the opposite of what it used to be. Now, back when the coins were new in 2013 and so forth, like there were like coins coming out, and that if they had any sort of thing like that, if they had a company on top of them, if they had an ICO, if they had a pre-mine, any of that stuff, they would be laughed at, and people would be like, what are you doing? You can't do it like this, da 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 da. And nowadays, there are coins that literally have closed source chains, and that's fine. And I'm like, wow, the
That's
space
which
has
is
devolved like completely. And what it is the corporate space came in, and they do what they do, and they started co-opting things. They started taking over the crypto space. They started slowly moving it back to corporateville. And that is exactly the opposite of what this space was supposed to be, guys. Like, and so it's like, are there any real projects left? Yes, there are, but they're very, very few and far between, right? Like Ravencoin is one of the only other like truly community run projects that I've come across, and it's cool that we support them already. I know there are a handful of others, and I think we really need to work on potentially getting support for the other good projects that are out there too. And I think that's going to help quite a bit if we can actually get them to pay attention to Qortal. So the other problem is like we get like we support Dogecoin, right? But Dogecoin's community has not even glanced in the direction of Qortal. And it's just odd to me, right? Like if a project comes in and says, "Oh, we've built support for your project," wouldn't you at least like look at it, right? And
Dogecoin, dude, Dogecoin don't even have a community.
okay,
Because
well,
yeah,
I
that's
mean, I
exactly
guess,
correct. The
but they
people
do. They
they
have a Discord. They have like,
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
yeah,
Like,
but the people they purchase the Dogecoin for they are invested and they're hoping, but it's already prices dropped.
dude,
You know,
Dogecoin was a joke, and so I
yeah.
figured that a joke coin would have like at least some sort of community just in there posting memes and doing dumb stuff, right? Like, but I don't know. It's just
dude,
crazy to
dude,
me that
They,
if
like,
you
they
wanted,
because
if you
they
wanted to list
invested
the,
and they cannot lose it. They're waiting, hopefully coming back up. So they don't want to trade it with another coin. So we have to understand we only the really support we have is from big like Bitcoin and Litecoin. Is all this Litecoin even come from Bitcoin? Because they just have to transfer it to the Litecoin to be able, because our Bitcoin was closed, so now it's open. So I
yeah, but
think,
Bitcoin trades are expensive and slow. So, and people need
yeah,
to kind of
it's
understand that.
expensive.
Like, if you're doing a real cross-chain trade, you have to take into consideration the fees associated with the transactions on the other chain and the speed of which the transactions confirm on that other chain too. So it's like, I don't know.
You
People
have a
have to
more
understand the difference too.
timing.
And I've also like, so I was looking at some like news articles the other day about like some Ethereum stuff talking about, cross-chain versus multi-chain support and da 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 da. But every time they're talking about cross-chain and stuff, they're not talking about like a true cross-chain. They're talking about like, one of these so-called smart contracts, which I don't even know why they call them smart contracts because they're not smart contracts. They're just applications, right?
We're just
And so they have
acting
these
as, yeah,
applications that communicate to multiple chains, and they call that cross chain. And it's like, okay, no, like that's not like a true cross chain anything. So it's just like
actually,
all of what's that?
it's not true. It's not a truly decentralized DEX. So
Right.
exactly.
DEXs have different ways to operate. Technically, I think about three ways. You could use P2SH, you could use oracles, or you could use contracts to
Well,
do
you
this
have
stuff.
to use P2SH anyway, right? But the problem is that you don't have a way to truly lock the coins on these other chains in a way that's actually able to facilitate something in a trustless way, right? So that's why we can only do sell orders right now, is because we can only truly lock in escrow the court because it has our AT functionality to allow that to take place where the coins are actually in the AT on the chain and locked there and can only execute when certain set of rules have passed, right? So it's totally different than the P2SH stuff and so forth on the other chains. It's not able to work in exactly the same fashion, which allows for a true cross-chain trade to take place. So
In a
yeah,
local contract.
It's,
I mean,
it's
what they're doing on things like atomic decks and so forth is they're putting the order books on the software. And I'm like, okay, so they don't have the order books on a chain somewhere. So how does
Exactly.
everybody verify these order books? Like for me, that it's just like, I don't know, it's semi-trusted. It's semi-trusted.
Any
And
any decks that says they're decks, the order books is always the problem.
right.
Atomic decks figured out how to decentralize that. That was the biggest problem, and that's why they came out with decks P2P, and that's what does it.
That's
Right,
right.
but the order books still aren't on a chain, right? So what keeps those order books from being manipulated at all? And so then what happened? I want to know too what happened with Polarity, right? Because they were supposedly doing real cross-chain trades too. And does anybody know like what actually happened there? Why, how they were able to lose or get hacked or whatever? How is that possible if they're doing a real cross-chain trade? To me,
Yeah,
that
I know
means that
how.
they did
I know
something
how.
wrong.
It's
Yeah.
that's because it was centralized.
Oh my God, really? Like, so see, that's what I'm saying. Like,
Yeah, but I've been
all of
saying
the other
that since
platforms,
dude,
dude,
I've been
it's
saying that. I've been
crazy.
telling people polarity's centralized. I've been saying it since the beginning, but that guy Wolf, he keeps coming back and telling people, "Oh, it is decentralized." And I was like, "No, it's not
Dude,
decentralized."
you
And
can't have a hack happen
yeah,
on a decentralized platform. It's not possible. Like, the only thing that could potentially happen is someone somehow loses their keys or gives their account access to someone else, and then they get taken advantage of that way. That's literally the only thing that can happen on a truly decentralized trade platform. And so, like, all of these others that are getting hacked or whatever, they're built wrong. It comes down to that. Like, it really just comes down to that. If they were built correctly, that would not be possible. It is not possible to hack anything that is built decentralized, like
dude,
actually
Right. There wouldn't be a central
decentralized.
point of attack.
Right, there's
dude,
nothing to
I
hack.
I think the reason they all of them they don't have a peer to peer. That's it.
Right,
And
they have
Portal
some
have
sort of
that.
centralized
Portal have
thing.
that. That's why we are completely different with others.
Right, and that's why
And
when people are comparing it, they're like, "Oh, well, why does the trade portal not function exactly like these other so-called decentralized exchanges?" Because they're so-called decentralized exchanges. They're not actually
because
decentralized
they are
exchanges.
they are on a tree, third party. They are not on their own. They all
Well,
of them
even
they
if
are
they
as
are
a
on their own,
exchange.
they're still centralized. So it's like
Exactly.
it just it's nonsense. And so every single thing in the crypto space has been bastardized so much that we can't even use any of the terminology. Even our cross-chain trades, we can't even use cross-chain anymore because now all the other chains have been using cross-chain incorrectly. So now it's like, okay, so we have to like start calling ours something completely different or something so that people understand that we are completely unique and that we are completely unique for a reason. And the reason is to ensure that everyone is completely decentralized and completely secure. Now, yes, that means that certain things won't be exactly the same as what you're used to on centralized platforms or semi-decentralized platforms. But you know what? You're 100% secure. You're not going to have any issues with the trades. Nobody's ever going to get hacked in the traditional sense. So that I think is priceless, and that is the reason that we have done everything the way that we have. And I like, even the other day, someone was like, "Well, why can't we just do this and this and like basically cut some corners and make it do things faster or better or whatever?" I'm like, we will never cut corners on this kind of stuff. And this is what makes us different. And this is why, yes, it took us a little while to get all of this stuff built this way. We did it all from scratch for a reason. Like, there's a lot of intent and thought behind every single aspect of everything on Qortal. And we have focused so far on ensuring that the infrastructure, like the very base level of Qortal, was built 100% legit so that we are building an infrastructure replacement. We can't have the infrastructure of the infrastructure be anything other than perfect. If it is, then it will have issues in the future too, right? So we can't build like an amazing platform based on a structure made of sand, right? So we have to ensure that every single thing at the base level is built correctly in every way before we build anything else on top of it. And that's why it's taken us a while to get to this point. That's why, like, we did all of this for that reason, ensuring that everything was built 100% legit so that when we build things on top of this, they're all 100% legit by default, right? So, and now we're finally, of course, the self-sponsorship shit set us back by like 6 months. We would have been already to the point of QApps quite a while ago and so forth, but it is what it is, right? We had to make sure that the self-sponsorship issue was handled as much as possible. And yes, a few of them were able to get past it with the transfer privs. It's a temporary thing. They were able to get past. They're not going to be able to get past it forever. Everyone who was caught by the algo will get taken care of, but we cannot put any more dev focus on that right now. that is handled as much as it's going to be handled at the moment. We need to make sure that we get QApps going because that is what this platform is about. It is about rebuilding the
Okay,
internet.
this is what I'm going to offer. I'm going to give my account. You can put it there, minting for the Q app. Support
Mhm.
whoever developing, and
Hmm.
and I think we are unique. The reason peer to peer, we are unique, and Qortal is going to be number one. I know it is on number one. Is going to be number one, and I can put my neck on that because I see that. I've been with many trade on cryptocurrency. I know exactly. Nobody know who's behind the scene. Nobody know who doing what. And Quarter is very straightforward. Is I love about it. I can just talk about it. You can talk about it, but again, Q app is going to take us to different level, and I feel it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I was hoping that we would be able to get there a little bit more quickly, but we had to do what we had to do at the times we had to do them. And honestly, like, until this point, everything in Qortal has come together in basically a
No reason,
miraculous way, right?
I
It's
think
all
power of
taking,
God.
it's all just been like things happen right when they were supposed to happen, and then later on I'll realize why they happened that way. And so I'm just like, I can only facilitate so much. I can only do so much. I can only like push development so much. And so I'm just like kind of just letting it fall together. I always have let the devs kind of lead in their own way, making sure that they are happy and taken care of, and making sure that they are leading themselves, so that I don't have to like be some sort of manager or anything like that and try to force them to do one thing or another. I might kindly suggest certain directions at some time, but it's never like I'm like, okay, so this is what needs to be done, and this and this and this needs to be done first. Da 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 da. I never do anything like that. I go, okay, guys, so here's the overall plan. What do you think we should be doing first, or what's going to be the easiest for you to tackle first, so that they can lead their own development? Because who am I, as not a developer at that level, to say this needs to be done now and I don't care, you know what I mean? Like, and so we have to like just let them kind of lead the way, and that's what I've been doing, and I think it's been working out really well. I mean, look at the development of the platform, guys. Like, with basically no funding, basically like no paid developers, like one now that we've had for a year or two, but we have not had paid developers the entire time. I've paid a lot of money to people to make sure certain things happen, like way back in the day and whatever, but like we have not had like a typical structure like all of these other coins with companies on top of them, where they have money to just throw at developers and get whoever they want and whatever, right? We've had to rely on
Because
developers who've
because
come in.
our developers, they are not here for income. They are here for outcome. They
Right.
they know that. They know they're going to help the world. They are heroes. And I
Yeah.
see that. I see the night and day they are working. And
Well,
when I'm reading it,
honestly,
hmm?
honestly, things probably wouldn't have come together as well as they have if we did have a bunch of funding at the beginning. And it's funny, but that's probably true, because we would have gotten developers coming in for the
Thank
wrong
you.
reasons.
Thank you. That's exactly
And
right.
so I think about things like that, and I'm like, yeah, it's good that it came together the way that it did. Yes, I'm not in the greatest personal financial situation right now because of it, but you know what? Like, things all got built correctly, and that's what really matters, right? And we got these amazing devs who are here for the right reasons, who are, it's great, right? So like, I'm not really upset about the situation. I'm just like, the court price really does need to be higher, because we do need to start getting more promotional efforts going. We do need to start getting a lot more things going. And with the price as low as it is, it's really hard to do that in court. And that's the way we should be doing it, right? And so I mean, we'll get there. I just don't see exactly how everything's going to
I
play out.
think
And I
I
usually
think
like to be 10
everyone
years ahead, so, it's
I
hard for
think
me. But
everyone compromising for the right, future. So, and I really feel, even you, even me, everyone working. Hmm?
what? I didn't say anything, sorry.
Yeah,
But yeah,
I
no,
think
you're right. Yeah, I mean, we needed the people to be here for the right reasons. And I think if we didn't have, the situation that we do, we may have gotten people that were coming in just so that they could get court and make a bunch of money off of it, right? So, I mean, and that is potentially a thing in the future, but we're looking at not making money here, guys. Like, in fact, I think that having to sell court for USD is really not great, right? I think of it as going backwards. I think if you're selling court to get US dollars, that's backwards, guys. We should be looking at trying to get more court because that's what's going to power the future, or at least the future that I want to live in, right? Like all of the things that you need on a regular basis in the near future will be able to be obtained with court.
Yes.
So you should not have to be worried about getting back to US dollars ever in the future. So the idea of buying court for, monetary gain in the future should not really be a focus at all, because monetary gain in the future is not going to really be a thing. You're not going to want to get into US dollars again, right? Like, and yes, I'm talking about a little bit further into the future, right? And I think in the medium term future, people making trades and earning more Litecoin or whatever other coin that we support, and making trades and earning more of that and whatever in the medium term is going to be a cool thing. And like people can, take advantage of arbitrage opportunities on the multiple different pairs and so forth, and make some returns in Litecoin or whatever other supported coin. And that will be fine because I think, in the medium term, these coins are going to be a lot more widely accepted, and you'll be able to use Litecoin in places that you may not be able to use court for a while, but that is as far as I'm willing to go with, making money, right? Like, yes, I may make a little bit of Litecoin by buying some court at a lower price and selling it a little higher or whatever, but I don't plan to go back to US dollars with anything more than what I absolutely have to, right? Like, we're looking towards the
That's
future here.
just for surviving, just for
Right.
surviving.
And hopefully, in the relatively near future, I should not have to go back to US dollars at all, because everything will either support court or will support Litecoin or Bitcoin or one of the coins that court supports, right? Like, and so I'm looking at that as the future and not going back to
Or
US dollars at
or
all.
we can call that USD dollar, just we can say paper money.
Well, I mean,
Because any
yeah.
other countries, they're using
Right.
Qortal. They don't
Yeah,
have.
I'm just using USD as an overall general term for fiat currencies, but people should at least be partially aware now that fiat currencies are structured stupidly, not backed by anything, printed at an amazing rate. And if you saw a coin like that, right, oh, this coin gets printed, 500 million of them every single day, who would buy that coin, right? But yet people are very happy to get US dollars, and I get it. It's because it's supported, you need it to pay your bills, whatever, right? But if you look at the foundation of it, if a cryptocurrency was built in the same way that the US dollar currency is built, you would laugh at it, right? Like anybody who understands crypto would laugh at it, right? So, I mean, it's just like, I don't know. It's the ultimate scam coin, guys. Like, we don't want to be in the ultimate scam coin. We want to be in one that makes sense to be in. Yeah. So, but anyways, I lost track of what I was doing. I wanted to get into the testnet and see what I can see there, because they were posting some new stuff today. I want to see if I can show anything. Right now, it's not really to like the demo stage, but I want to see if I can show something at least. No. Just a sec. So you guys can talk about whatever else. Let me figure this out real quick.
What about the name Qdia instead of QTube?
I mean, honestly, bro, you can take and clone it and republish it, call it whatever you want, right? So the name doesn't matter at all.
PipeTube.
Yeah, you literally, man, you could take it, clone it, publish it under another name, rebrand it, call it whatever you want if you don't like the name, right? So the names are literally just going to be like, yeah, this was the first name it was published as, but who cares, right? Like, it really doesn't matter. Like, names don't matter at all, in my opinion. Anyway, yeah.
G Factor is gonna make nude tube.
Whatever, man. You can do whatever you want, right? Like, that's the beauty of decentralization. Yeah.
Don't tell me how to live my life.
Let's
Yeah, I like YouTube because
It
it's
sounds like
making
YouTube.
it makes it pretty fucking obvious what we're
Right.
providing an alternative to. So,
Yeah.
yeah, do we need to go as far as having a fake book and a Twitter and a fucking Instagram? No, but I like the QTube one because it's really hitting home on a really profound aspect of the platform.
Yeah, I
So,
agree.
I mean,
I
I'm
like it
good with
too.
that.
The only thing that people have brought up is, oh, the association to QAnon or whatever, and that's just such nonsense. So I'm
Oh,
like,
that reminds
yeah,
me. Hey, if you want, honestly, I haven't started the draft, but that's something I could knock out today for that
I mean,
website,
yeah,
David.
yeah, I think it's probably a decent plan to let people
Let's do
know
it.
that,
That's
you
a
know,
great
we
idea,
had the
right?
queue before they did. Like
Yeah.
we
So for
had,
those who aren't
yeah,
aware, Jason secured a name on Qortal, Q-ANOT. So instead of QAnon, QAnot, and
yes,
it'll be our little
I'll
play on words, and we'll put up a QDN page where we will therefore clarify how, for one, we had the Q before they came out, and number two, we have no association. So
right,
we'll kind of just break down what QAnon is, just a quick little blurb, and then how, basically 2 points. One, we own the Q, and number two, we have no association. For the
right.
record,
Yeah,
yeah,
because I'm just getting
we just
tired
kind of
of that
troll it,
getting
right? We
brought up
kind of make
at
fun
all.
out of it.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. Yep. So here I can show at least a few things here real quick. I want to let the avatars download real quick first, but so I can show, like, because we've got the QApps plugin built. I can show how that's going to function. It's going to be different than the website's plugin. So you're going to have, instead of just clicking the app and loading it like you would on a website, it's going to have a download button. And so people will be, at least semi-familiar with that because they've used, download buttons on, app stores on their phone or whatever, right? So we're going to try to mimic that as much as possible to make it so that people can just understand it. So it's going to be, you download it. Once it's downloaded, it'll turn into a button that says open, and then you open it and it'll open immediately, right? So you won't have to sit there and wait for the loading screen either, right? And you can click download and then like do other things in the UI and let it download in the background and then come back and open it, right? So it'll work much more similarly to like a traditional app. So people will have, better understanding of that by default. And yeah, so it's gonna be pretty cool, guys. Like
How
I'm
quickly
already
does that? How
stoked.
quickly does this first iteration or what have you? How quickly does this lead to QDN expansion of like you know um, having multiple names and being able
Yeah,
to
cross name
have
linking and
larger
everything will
sites?
come at the same time. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So cross name linking will allow you to not only link from one site to another, but you'll also be able to say someone published a picture in QChat. You could then take and link to that picture in QChat as opposed to, making that picture part of your website, right? You can just link to it, right? So you can also do a lot of cool things like, say, publish all of your pictures using QChat and then link to them so that you can make your website a lot smaller since the single publish limit is 500 megabytes and so forth. You can also publish videos on the video platform or blog posts on the blog platform and link to those on your website. So your website can then be a lot smaller, but yet bigger at the same time, right?
What
So
about
you're
the viewer being able to not have to download like an entire website at once? Like just starting with the home page, right? And then being able to click on the next, like the about section, and then move on,
Well, yeah, that'll
downloading that
be a
section.
thing as you link from one name to another. So instead of having a website that's all just on one name, you can do
Mm,
that on multiple names if you want it to load in separate, separate pieces. For now, you can do
right.
that yourself, but we can
Such as
make
like
it
proetic.com/about/hardware, so on and so forth.
right. It's
Make a
that
new
would be
name.
under the same name, but yeah, you could do another name for like hardware or whatever if you wanted it to load separately. So you could do that yourself initially. We won't be doing that at the development level yet, but we can do that kind of thing in the future for really large sites to make it so that it loads more quickly or whatever. We could also make it so that sites also have a download button so that you can just download them instead of having to access them and wait for them to build. So you could download them and then access them and build them at that point. So yeah, it's going to be, a lot different as things move on. But for now, since there is still the single published limit, 500 megabytes should not take too long to load unless you're like on a really slow internet connection, in which case you can just follow the site and come back, check it later. But we will work on that kind of stuff as time goes on. That's not focused right now on the development side, and people will be able to kind of do that themselves by, using multiple names and so forth. So yeah, it's not going to be a huge issue, I don't think, until we massively increase the single publish limit, and then it might start becoming a little bit more of a pain in certain areas, but we can put focus on that as time goes on. Yeah.
So QTube and Qblogs will be part of the first
So
demo
Q apps,
package.
yeah, Q apps work differently than websites. So like for videos and so forth, you'll have download buttons on each individual video, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you
What
won't
about
have to
Qblogs?
like I haven't looked at it yet, so it looks like each individual post will be downloaded when you click it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
How
So
far out will our
the blog is
GitHub
not
replacement be from that?
the blog is not styled yet, but it's there on the testnet. So I can show you just so you can see what I'm talking about. Hold on. But don't like take the styling and anything. I just want to show you like what it's gonna look like a little bit. Like as far as how the functionality will work.
Get ready to
Um,
screenshot, guys. Squeaky leaks.
Yeah, it's not styled yet, so none of the styling is there. It's literally just like the first iteration and testing on the testnet for the blog functionality. So I'm just gonna like show you guys
How
what that
far
looks
out
like.
is the GitHub alternative after
Yeah,
we
so
launch the
GitHub
Q app start?
alternative is going to be on each individual name, right? So you'll have a Git repo tied to each name. So it's not like going to be us providing a GitHub alternative. It's going to be every name has a Git repo you can tie to it, right? So
Mm-hmm.
it's not like, I mean, we could build like, Portal Git or whatever, and that would be like a Git browser where
So
you
that'll
could
be
browse.
immediately with the launch of this Q apps
I don't
functionality?
know. I don't know.
Okay,
That
that's kind
might
of what I'm
be a
curious.
little bit behind it, but the whole
Okay.
idea is that you'll have the Git repo tied to it. We're also looking at a way to potentially make it so that the Git repo automatically takes the source code for each app that's published and publishes it on the Git repo at the same time. So, yeah, we don't know how all that's going to work quite yet. But yeah, I published a picture of what this is the actual Q app right now. Obviously not styled or anything, but you can see, you
Where'd
have
you post it? What
in
channel?
the Qortal text. I thought that's where we always
Oh, I have that
do
thing
it.
muted. Here we go.
Oh, yeah. But so you can see individual posts there, different authors and so forth. So, but yeah, yeah, that is, it's going to be very simple. Then we'll also have, let me see if I can show anything else. This is the one people are going to be really excited about. 1 second, I gotta see where I put that picture. So this one is an idea of what QTube could look like, right? These are both like in development right now. The blog is not styled, and QTube is not maybe going to look exactly like that, but yeah, we're getting there, guys. So I'm pretty stoked. Like this stuff is just going to be the next level for Qortal. So like this is what Qortal is built to do, right? So, and the gateway authentication is going to be coming along really close to when all this stuff goes live. So people will be able to access all this stuff through the gateway without running a node, whatever, get an account created for them through the gateway automatically. They'll be able to make, comments on blog posts, comments on videos, whatever. Potentially even publish things. I'm not 100% sure on all that, but I think you'll be able to even publish things with that anonymous account. There's only going to be, so there are going to be a few things that people are going to have to be aware of with the anonymous account. Each access through the gateway will, at first anyway, generate you a different anonymous account. So if you want that account that you used for that session, you're going to need to download that backup file, and that will obviously be an option. So you'll be able to download the backup file for the account that you get created, and then once you have your node set up, then you will be able to take full ownership of that account, make a name for it, start minting, whatever, right? So yeah. So we're gonna make this all really, really, really simple for people. I was considering something the other day. I don't even think I'm gonna mention it though because I don't think it's a good idea. So I was, thinking maybe we could, for now, use the api.qortal.org to allow people to have, basic use of Qortal without installing the core. But I don't like that idea. So I want to wait until we have light nodes before we do anything like that. So the UI will come along with a light node. Light node will give you immediate access to everything without running a full node. Then you will have a button both in probably the minting plugin and also in node management, where you can just click to set up a core and run a full node. So that will make things a lot easier. But then we can do the same thing on phones, and then we're golden, right? Then we have everything, right? Yeah.
Is there any plans for SEO?
Okay, so what do you mean by SEO?
So like when someone searches for your website or I mean right now there's not too many websites, right? But say at some point there's going to be a lot of websites. How are they going to be ranked per se? Like when someone searches for
Okay,
it.
so there's no way. Okay, so a lot of the data that they use for so-called SEO doesn't exist on Qortal, right? So there's no way to track like how many people have access to site or who accessed that site or any of that stuff, right? So there's no real way to
You could
do
track
that.
how many people downloaded the
Yeah,
file, though, right? The
that's
site.
literally the only way, but that's not even
Right.
really something that we track at all right now anyway. So that would have to be built as a Q app itself, where that Q app goes out and tries to figure out how many copies of that site exist. And then from there, you could say like a general overall idea of how potentially quote unquote popular that site is, right? And that's literally it, because since there's no communication back and forth, it's literally just you download the app or site and then access it locally on your computer. There's no communication back to anything, right? So there's no way to track any data like that because it just doesn't exist, which is great for, privacy and decentralization. But yeah, as far as like ranking things, there will have to be Q apps specifically designed for that, wherein the people themselves are the ones who provide those rankings, right?
So someone could make like a custom Qortal browser that would browse all the Q apps and websites, and then it would search for things based on popularity by tracking how many people. Like if they were a super node, then they could do that.
I mean, it's still going to take a little bit of work to figure it out, right? Like they're going to have to like try to grab that data and then try to get as many peers as whatever to reply, and then keep track of those peers and then do it again and keep track of those and build a database of that, right? So it's like, yeah, somebody could build that program that does that, yeah. But what I'm thinking is it's going to be all more like a user controlled ratings platform, right? So you'll have like a Q app wherein users can then rank sites and apps themselves and make comments on that and so forth. So then you can take that information and get a better idea of like the trustworthiness or whatever of each application and so forth. So it's really all going to be user input that decides this stuff. It's not going to
Kind of
be
like
like it is on the internet,
kind of like the idea of if we have an app store, so to speak,
Right.
with like reviews, 5-star
Reviews.
reviews, you can leave a comment, right? And this will allow
Exactly.
us to build a system of trust or authentication, right? Verifying these apps, so and also these websites,
Right.
user experience.
Like a Reddit upvote type thing.
Yep, exactly. That's it. Yep.
It could just be a Q app, no? I mean, it could
Yeah,
be a
that's what I'm saying.
competition.
Yeah.
It could even be a
Right.
competition as to who rates what better, and leave it to the community.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, there could be 5 different rating Q apps, from different developers, and eventually one of them will be a favorite.
Right. And so that's the thing, right? Is this is all decentralized for one thing. So there's no like data to track. Like, so we can't like have AI like figuring out everybody's interests by tracking all of the nonsense between websites and like their location and their name and all of that shit, right? And that's kind of like the point, right? We want to get rid of that. Like that's not
Right. And as a
not
Q
great.
app, the user is in full control, so they're choosing to opt into
Right.
whatever said app gets built and is out there in the
Right.
marketplace.
Yes.
Right.
And we were also discussing like so initially, right, when we don't have anything that's like trying to enforce, like trying to get the code fully open source and published on the Git or whatever, right? The website or the Q apps could potentially be what's called minified, right? So you can take JavaScript and do what's called minifying it, which means that it's basically all smashed together and really difficult to read because it's not structured and like it's supposed to be when you're actually coding it. So that makes it like really difficult to read the source, right? So it makes it also really difficult to modify the source and so forth, right? So somebody could publish a Q app like that, which basically makes it not quite open source. It's still open source, but not quite because it's not really able to be modified and used like it should be. So, but it doesn't really matter, right? Because every single request that the Q app makes that requires anything from the user gets sent as an authentication pop-up to the user where like this app wants to do this, right? Do you say yes? And if you
Right.
don't say yes, it won't happen. So people still have full control over everything that happens regardless of whether they can see the source code clearly or not, right? And then of course as the ratings type Q apps start getting going, that could be a potential subject for the rating app, right? Is this site like fully open source and not minified and able to be copied and replicated and whatever, as in the true Qortal fashion? And that could be like a yes or no type thing, and then people could decide whether they wanted to use that Q app based on that, right? Or they give it a better rating because it is fully open source or whatever, right?
And to clarify, or just to add into this, right? To have you verify. So any Q app that gets built, there's no way that it's going to be able to like intrude upon and find like your private key. The only way that would ever be possible is if a user manually entered into a Q app that kind of sensitive information.
Right. So the
Right.
Q app, any sort of request that a Q app makes, it has to be
Mhm.
verified by the user. So if the Q
Mhm.
app like tries to get your private key, it would be like, this Q app is trying to do this. Do you want to
Okay.
allow it? If you
Right.
say yes, it's on you, right? Yeah.
So there's great things. Is a lots of experience you guys have in tech support. That I mean technology. So whatever you didn't like it, you don't want to be on Qortal. This is how I'm seeing it. No,
What? I don't understand.
I said whatever you didn't like it in a centralized, other
Oh
app.
yeah. The things we
You
don't
Whatever we
like
don't
of
like
the
out there,
centralized world,
yeah,
yeah,
we'll build the
we're getting rid
solutions
of it.
here.
Yeah,
Yeah, you get
exactly.
rid of
Yeah.
it,
Yeah.
and you make
Yeah.
Solutions,
it
not
all like
complaints.
Well,
Now this is an
honestly,
opportunity.
a lot of the stuff that it exists right now on the so-called internet, right, should have never existed in the first place. That's my opinion. It should have never existed in the first place. So the fact that it exists and the fact that it's now quote unquote popular or seems to be popular or allows people to manipulate people and get more views on their website, which then further manipulates people and takes advantage of their ads and all this shit, right? That should have never been a thing, in my opinion. So the fact that it's now a thing and it's popular from people so that they can get more views and whatnot is irrelevant. Like it should have never been a thing. The end. And so now we're building it correctly. If people care about that, then they'll come use the stuff built
I
correctly.
think the reason because capitalist idea, everyone trying to make an ideas and they come up with these ideas, even if it's a manipulation, even is against human, even is against
Yeah, it's
uh
preying on the ignorant.
Right.
yeah. So now
You know,
what
and
we are
you're trying
desensitizing
to
people.
developing,
you're trying to combat data harvesting, is what you're saying.
Right. Yeah,
yes,
it's impossible on Qortal. It's not like unlikely or, minified or whatever. It's just not possible.
exactly. Now I think now we are what we're saying in the court all safe, make it words more safe for everyone,
And
and
setting new standards.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yep.
Creating awareness to
not to
creating
be
new standards.
capitalist, not to
And
be
we'll be able
universal.
to do very similar things to a lot of the things. The majority of the things on the internet that people actually care about and use, we will be able to build replacements for. but things like tracking and all the shit that
Let's
probably
use
should
the
have never
verbiage
existed in the first place.
alternative.
No, yeah, yeah.
Replacement's a bit
Is
bold.
it is it
It is a
what I
replacement, but
say
it's
is
also
it
an alternative.
true?
Yeah,
Is it true decentralization? True
right.
decentralization.
And in a system that's truly decentralized, you literally don't have any of that data. So there's no data to track. It just doesn't
But
exist.
if you wanted to, could you save your own data, like on your own storage units?
Like which data though?
Like let's say you make a website, and okay, so for instance, so we all have a node, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we all have names in the account under our node. Could we save, like, if we make a website under a certain name, could we save it to an offline storage system? Like just in case like Qortal goes offline or something, can we save it
Oh
to
yeah, of
something else?
course. Like, and by default, your site is saved that way anyway, right? Like, I mean, it basically okay. So you're not gonna ever need to do that unless you have like no people who've accessed your site, or you just want another local backup copy, whatever, right? And that's always possible. But I mean, Qortal keeps however many backup copies as the people who access it, right? So if you get 100 people that access your site through their own Qortal node, then you now have 101 copies of your site out there, right? So I mean, yeah, it just gets more anonymous, more redundant, more quicker to download and so forth as each person uses it, right? As long
Now,
as they're running it.
how about the owner of said data? Will there be a way for him to see and connect to, like, be able to message these other peers to maybe incentivize and offer some sort of reward or giving thanks? Is there anything like that that might be possible, other than someone manually being like, hey Jason, I want to be a peer for your website? Would there be a way for Jason to know that, hey, G's actually a peer, let me message him and say
No.
thanks? And you know
No, that's not associated to accounts, right? So when you follow a site, that's on your node only and it's local only. So there's no way to like figure out who owns that node and then say, they're a peer. That's not connectable. So unless somebody volunteers that information, there's really no way. Like, so a Q app could be built and people could go volunteer and say, yes, I am a peer for this site or whatever, and then that could be used. But it's all like, so this is the main thing that people need to remember. All of the data that's like so-called personal information or anything that could be used to identify stuff like that, that all has to be volunteered. There's
right,
no way to get that information from the Qortal network. And that's like by design, right? It's supposed to be that way.
right.
Everything, like anything that you would say connected to your account, like with nodes and so forth, you have to volunteer that information. It's not
So
information
let
that
me
can
ask
be
you this
grabbed.
then.
You need
So
consent.
Yeah.
So I know we have ideas on how private data hosting can work as a service, but now what about if I'm hosting a website and I want to actually find other peers that will help me, keep redundant copies, but then how can I, like, if I want to incentivize them, right? How can I ensure that I'm getting what I'm paying for, right? If I
Yeah,
want
so
Jason
that
and
would have
Lutz
to
to
be
run
built
redundant copies,
when we build the data market, that will have to be
okay.
built into it. Yeah.
Okay, but that's within the realm of possibilities, some way,
Yeah, it
some
would
form.
have to be built into it. And what I'm
Right.
thinking is where you'll have like the data on your node, right? And then you'll have to hash that data with a different algorithm every so often, and then provide the proof of that hash with that different algo to say, yes, I still have the data, basically, right? So that's something that I've
Okay.
been trying to figure out for a very long time, because if you could actually prove that like data exists, you could actually build an algorithm around that and reward people based on that, right? So yeah, that's a really, really like, this is something that people have been trying to do in the crypto space for a very long time. So we
Hmm.
will get to that point. Initially, the data market might be a little bit less able to actually verify the data. So it'll have to be more like on a trust basis, and people will have to just make sure that that node has the data, and then go from there. But like, if we could figure out a way to do that, which I think I know how it could work, but I want to know how much that's going to like cause as far as processing on the nodes and so forth. I don't want to like build something that would cause the node to run like shit, right? So we have to just design this stuff and move forward as we do, right?
Yeah, I agree. In my opinion, I'm not much of a tech guy at all. I'm a bit incompetent when it comes to things like this. Uh, so unlike people like you, like the more nerdy kind of guys, no offense.
No, I'm
you
not
know,
offended by that. It's absolutely true. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. You guys, yeah, excuse me. Um, you know, you guys are a bit frustrated, I can tell, because this isn't being more widely adopted, and it's because well, I think you overestimated the intelligence of people. More
Yeah.
people are
Well,
kind of dumb.
I
Well, we
also
also
even
haven't launched a really aggressive marketing campaign yet, so let's also keep
Well,
that
yeah.
out in the ether, right?
I
Like this
mean,
whole time,
I've seen this a lot on Minds
this whole
and things like that from
grassroots movement has been the whole so-called focus so far,
yeah.
and it needed
So we
to
got
be
to
that way.
choose.
We weren't
Yeah,
ready. Like in my opinion, we're still not quite ready for that because yes, I know. I mean, I just estimated that there would be more techie people who
that
understood it a
trickle
little
in,
better
right?
at the
Yeah,
beginning. And like that's the thing is that I thought that there would be more people in the beginning that were already part of like the so-called crypto space who would understand this, but they think that this already exists in different places because these other platforms have been lying to them. So
right.
it's like, yeah,
That's
that's
what
the
I
other
think,
thing.
sir.
That's like the main thing, really. Like we would have gotten bigger adoption at the beginning from the already existing crypto community and tech people if they actually understood that the platforms that they think do the same thing don't. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that provides
And so
more
there's a
grace
lot of
to
bullshit
the
in the
greater
space.
production that we have. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
There's
Mhm.
just
there's
too
two
much
main reasons.
bastardization. Yeah.
Yeah, there's two main, like, people need to find out about Qortal in the first place, and the
Right.
second reason is, you know, the more techie people and even the dumber people don't see a reason to get into Qortal because there's no money in it. So we have to give them an incentive. So I think if you make a YouTube alternative, that's going to bring a lot of money in for people to
Right,
make.
exactly. Yeah, I mean, and I knew that, like, a few demos of these things is really all it's going to take to get people to really understand what the value of the platform is, right?
Oh, hold on.
But
Let's touch that one point. He said when Q tubes come in, there's a misconception that this is going to allow for it to be profitable and monetized, right? So at the moment, Jason,
well,
right? Correct me if I'm wrong. There are no intentions to allow for a monetization, at least your Q tube angle. Someone would have to build a
right. So
certain type of
yeah,
Q apps
people
for
are
that
like wrapped around this idea that you can make money magically with like fucking
content
YouTube and
creation.
becoming a YouTuber and all this fucking nonsense, right? But this will be voluntary as well in the like
Well, I
initially,
don't
right?
mean like direct
Yeah.
payments from Qortal,
Right.
just
I think
because,
he meant that
yeah,
there would be value coming into the
just
platform
because of
because,
your
yeah,
account, or like likes. I mean, like on your channel, you're gonna have like things you're selling or things you're advertising, and that's how you
right,
make money. But
right.
direct payments from Qortal, I don't know if you guys
He's
plan on
talking.
doing
He's
that, but
talking about the side
it shouldn't be
trade.
a thing.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
I
no,
think he's
I
saying that
want
the
to throw it
value
out
of the
there,
platform will also go up. People will
right?
understand the
With
value of
adoption.
court more. Yeah,
Yeah,
like so.
sure.
Yeah,
With
and
that
there will
said,
be options to tip. So yeah,
yeah,
Oh yeah,
right.
definitely.
yeah.
So I have one thing on my wish list that I want to see happen, which doesn't sound like it's going to be something as like a default plugin. We're dealing with QTube, and that's fine. But I want to see an option to have a monetized version of QTube, more like a Brave browser, where if a user chooses to opt into, they can then earn, said asset, kind of like the Brave token, for choosing to see ads, and in turn that creates a revenue model where, say, 50% of revenue goes to dev fund and the other 50% goes back to the users who chose to opt in,
So the way I
right?
see it is the Qortal development team will be building demos, and we will be building the
Right.
most optimal demo that we can build, right?
Sure.
We will not be
Something
including any sort
neutral.
of revenue models. We will not be including any sort of anything like that. People can then take our demos and
Yeah.
rebuild them and add whatever other functionality they want to them and make whatever else happen and do it that way, right? We have to stay as like I guess like pure, right? We have to stay as
Neutral.
pure and neutral
Right.
as we can
Yeah.
when we're
All
building these things,
inclusive. Yeah.
right? So that we can
The
build
best was the
demos of
mutual.
right. We can build demos of the way that the base functionality can work. then it's on any other developer in the world to come in and say, okay, well, I can take this and make this and this, do this and da da da,
Yeah.
right? So,
Yeah.
right, yeah.
Content creators want a way to monetize their work, and I think
Well,
there's
of
going to be a
course,
huge
yeah.
market for that aspect.
Well, yeah, they'll also be able to create a quote unquote NFT on top of a name and then use the QTube to talk about their NFT and then sell it, right? So that's also a thing. Yeah.
It's
Like they can
so
sell their
many,
art.
so
So
many
dude,
opportunities.
it's incredible. Like there's literally anything you can think of is possible, right? Except for like tracking people and using their tracked information to create ads. Like those kinds of things not possible because that should have never been possible in the first place. But anything else that you can think of basically is possible, right? So like yeah, all of this stuff that you're talking about, all this stuff that anybody has been talking about this entire time is all possible because, you know, it's an infrastructure platform. It's
Now, once we
literally
get
built to be
to
able to build anything. Yeah.
So once we get to having the payment system, one angle will be to be able to allow content creators to have paid subscribers, right? Subscription-based
Yep.
services.
Yep.
Can
You
you
can
expand on
create a
that a bit?
private group. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So you can create a private group. You can have people set up an AT that pays automatically on a schedule, right? They don't have to do that, but they can, right? So automatic monthly payments are a thing. Then you can add people into a private group that gives them access to another copy of the website that's essentially the back end of the website, right? And it gives them access to data that other people don't have access to unless they're in that group, right? So yeah, it's totally possible to do that. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Subscription stuff, definitely. Yep. So the only thing I'm like, I don't know how like these
Jason,
people
how
who,
I have a one question.
yeah.
How we can copy you?
Yeah, I know that's a great question. I've been trying to figure that one out for quite a while. If I had a couple of me, that'd be great. Yeah.
we need 1,000, Jason.
Well, the only way is like what I've been doing with G for the past few years is literally just explaining everything to him and explaining all the details so then he can run on his
He's
own.
good.
And
He's
he's been
good.
doing really well,
he's-
man. Like
I think
without him, we would have a
he's
shitty
taking it.
wiki.
I'm
He's
Yeah.
taking it so great.
So yeah, like that's all it really takes is people sitting down and learning. Because yes, this is a platform that is
You know what
completely
is? I
different.
tell you
You
what.
know?
I think this is what I'm thinking. If I'm thinking wrong, please tell me. If this platform will go fast and the founders or developers get rich, and the price go up and they all go away, and this is what exactly I think this platform going slow to everything develop to the stage of all other developers in the world come help. You know what I mean? This is what I'm thinking. Did
Well,
I get my
yeah.
point across?
I think the people that would leave are already gone already.
No,
Yeah.
I said if they were like 2 years ago, if the court coin price was $1,000, just like go and
Maybe turn and
whatever.
burn. Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah, turn and
Yeah,
burn. They
well,
would just come in
that's
and
what
leave.
that goes
Yeah.
to the point I was saying before, like that we got to the point that we are with the people that we have here for the right
Exactly.
reasons because of the way that things have
Yeah, because you
moved,
know
right?
what? Through this blood, sweat, and tears, boy, it's been a rocky road for a
Yeah.
lot of the people that really are getting. The deeper you dig into this and invest into it, the more of a roller coaster, emotionally, financially, everything. You know,
It
so
was, but
it's been a great,
again,
great
is we
stretch to
look at
pull test.
the outcome, what we done, and I really feel proud.
Yeah.
I am proud.
I
Sometimes
mean,
we
I know
cannot
that
buy things with the money,
we have done everything correctly, and that's what I can say for sure,
As
right?
painful as it's been, right?
Yeah, and honestly, yes, there were a few things like the founder percentage and the taking the people from Quora and so forth. That if I could do it again, I would do it a little differently. But you know what? We're taking care of it.
But
It's
we
being
didn't know
modified,
that. We
right?
didn't know that,
And
and we
so
were in
we
learning
learn and we
experience. We
adapt, and
slowly,
it just
yes.
it demonstrates the ability of the platform to evolve too, which is a really big thing, especially in the quote unquote blockchain space, because most blockchain based systems are not really able to evolve in every way like Qortal is, right? So like a lot of them are stuck to a single algo for their mining and so forth. And to change that would be like unthinkable.
A massive
Like,
undertaking.
yeah, like for Bitcoin to change the algo that they use to mine would kill like what hundreds of millions of dollars worth of hardware, make it
Oh,
useless.
they did. Yes.
Hey,
So yeah,
Monero is talking about switching to ZK Snarks, man. In
well
2
they
years.
don't have ASICs and so forth, do they?
No, but they got GPU mining, which
Right. So
kind of
then that's
kills
easy. Yeah.
GPU mining.
Well, if they change the algo for a GPU, then it'll be just easy enough to make new software for the GPU. But the problem is once they get to the ASIC level, they are stuck to that algo. If they change the algo, all of those ASICs are useless. They're bricks. Those things, they only know how to do one thing. They only
But
know
you
how
know
to
what?
hash that algo.
I'm talking about Pirate. Pirate can be built with a different mining mechanism. Like for example, there was an old Pirate example that came out that did really bad that was called Arrow, and they had mining Pirate with GPUs, but it went
Right.
nowhere. It's just because of bad management, not because it didn't have potential.
Right.
And then and then you got a different mechanism called minting here on Qortal, right? At the moment, I've been thinking the last 2-3 weeks, if Pirate had minting and we had no reliance on pools, what a great chain, like even better
Right.
chain it would be.
So
And that's
bring them all to Qortal.
Well, we're already here.
yeah,
We're
well, I
already
know,
here.
right? And well, what I'm thinking is like when we get a little further along, right? I've always wanted to have the option to launch another chain from within Qortal and have it be able to have its own set of minting rules and whatever, right? Make sure that they all are launched from zero so that there's no way that people can launch a scam. And make it so that you can launch your own chain. That chain can run with or without Qortal running alongside of it. And so you can then take and rescue other projects from existing scenarios that are not optimal and move them over to a Qortal based chain with new minting rules and whatever, and they're good to go. And then when we have our, anonymous transaction type, something like that could absolutely take place on Qortal, right? So like rebuilding Pirate, for example, could definitely take place. And
On
then,
Qortal.
right, yeah, well, not on Qortal, but as a Qortal clone essentially, but launched from
Eh,
within Qortal. Yeah.
don't get sad, Pirates. Don't get sad.
I mean,
Too
honestly,
many
it's
pirates
it's
coming.
better. Like minting is just it's better. It allows you to run on any computer. It allows anyone to take part. Yes, the word sponsorship trips people up, but it's much more ideal than proof of work or proof of stake, right? I mean, you don't need a shitload of hardware to do it. Like it makes it so it's really actually truly open to everyone in the world. Like,
Well,
so
I believe it should be a
It doesn't
little bit.
account for dishonest
Yeah,
sponsors, though.
I mean,
right.
there's
So,
really nothing you can do about that. Like,
so,
unless you have like
so the
in-person verification or something, like there's really nothing you can do about that.
Yeah,
maybe in the
that ship
future we
sailed.
can modify it so that it's more inverted, where everybody is found
Elected
a
officials,
yeah, everybody is what
elected sponsor.
yeah, a sponsor, by default. So as soon as you start open up that wallet, you're already minting the new pirate, whatever we come up with on Quarter.
No, that'll
But
be too. Yeah, that'll be
but
too
too
easy.
easy to game. Yeah,
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 that's
but
the
that's the
problem.
thing. No, that's not a problem. We
It's
we
not
we no, we urge them to game it. We
Let's make
want
it a
every
separate asset
we
and
we
explore that.
we we
right.
actually we actually provide them the tools to game it. We could give them the whole operating system where you can turn it on and you could open up VMs, clone VMs one after the other, and make the modifications and and try to make as many as you can. So if everybody can make 100 nodes each, they, see at the moment it's a problem because the people, you're telling everybody they're not allowed to use it. So that two people that know how to do it, they're going to try to be malicious actors as normal. Right. But we allow the
Oh
whole world
yeah, there's
I mean
there's a
that
and
that,
that,
that
they
that whole
didn't
hurt.
go for
market.
it.
Yeah, that whole market in WeChat is still booming, selling accounts. So like, you know, the underlying issue is still not hard to
Yeah,
succeed
well,
at.
we've mitigated it. So they have to have a new computer for each two accounts, and they can only sponsor two accounts at once. So it's slowed down dramatically and mitigated as much as possible.
Well,
Like
I mean,
that's
this whole
in this
sponsor, this
method,
whole sponsor issue, man, is just happening because the way minting is done. You gain core because of time. Where when it should be you should gain court because of activity or because things you're
Yeah,
selling or
well,
because
that'll
of
also be
production.
a thing in the
It'll be
future,
changed in the future, yeah.
right,
But
Well,
but
you
we had to start somewhere, right?
Well,
And you
the
can't
for sure.
start
activity
with,
is
like,
hold
yeah,
on though, but the activity
You
at the
are
moment is about providing hardware resources to
correct.
better
right.
secure the immutable ledger,
But
right? So we're
Okay,
all
so
doing that
this is the
you
thing,
are
activity.
right?
doing
So
right, that's
it has
exactly right.
it has always been a plan to have multiple different leveling methods, right? We
Yeah.
had to start with one, which is the one that allows the network to be established and grow and so forth. And that's what minting is, right? In the
Yeah.
future, there will be others, right? Based on other types of, now this is the key part here, measurable data that cannot be manipulated, right? You
Right.
can't build an algo based on data that's not on the chain and data that's not like able to be completely verified by everyone, right? So if you try to build an algo based on like, just individual nodes holding certain data without having that data confirmed and verified somehow, you're going to end up getting gamed in all kinds of other worse ways, right? So we had to start with something, guys. Like that's the thing, right? We had to start with something. We also needed to make sure that the network didn't grow too quickly, right? If we had started with minting where it was allowing anyone to mint and da 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 da. When we had it so that every single person was signing blocks regardless of their level, dude, the thing would have crashed within no time, right? So we needed to also make sure the network grew at a pace that was acceptable so that the developers could keep track of how things were going, make improvements to the consensus as time goes on, and so forth, right? Like we had to do that so that we could make sure, like this is something brand new, right? This is something that no one has ever done before. So we can't just go, oh yeah, it's going to work for sure, just like this based on simulations and whatever. And the real world is always different, right? So we had to make
Yeah.
sure that the project grew at a pace where the developers could keep up with everything, make the changes that were necessary at the time that they are necessary, and make sure that things go as planned, right? We couldn't just say, okay, yeah, everyone mints, get 100,000 minters in 2 minutes, and the project would crash, guys. Like, there's
Yeah.
no way that you can
Yeah,
fucking
I
do
I
that.
think
Like,
I
yeah.
think Jason, a couple years ago, we remember we had a offer from Saudi to they come up with a big, couple 100 million, and they want Qortal to be under control. We said no.
Right? Yeah.
We decide to not to go
We have had
under any
multiple.
any
Yeah, that's
obligation
not
to
even a serious
any
offer. Yeah.
investment, any
Yeah.
investor. So the great things we do not have, not owing anyone. We are free and clear,
Yeah,
and
that's always been the thing with Qortal is I could have sold the idea to so many different people for multiple
we
million
could sell it
dollars,
last year
whatever.
for
But
200
that's
million. I know
right.
that.
That's not the plan, right? The
But what
system
about
is built
pushing
to be
level
not
5 out?
owned by anyone. Yeah.
What about pushing level 5 out and taking longer than fucking 14 months approximately?
I mean,
Like for
that's all stuff
someone
that can be done with the voting system. Like we can't really
yeah,
like
once we
do
get
that.
yeah, but when are we going to get the voting? So okay, so the voting
I
system will
mean, I
come
see,
after we can
to be
do a
honest with you
technical
guys,
sweep, right? Once
I
we
see
do it,
like a major problem with the voting system because I really don't trust, most people's intellect. So I can't trust, 100 people and what they say because they could all be wrong. So the voting system
okay,
itself is flawed because,
do you know
I
the
don't
voting
understand.
system is supposed to have a voted weight based off blocks minted? Are you aware of that
Well, it
part?
doesn't really matter because you can have like a lot of court. We could also be dumb. So
No,
I
hold
really
on.
couldn't.
Yeah,
Court
there's
has nothing to
misconception.
do with it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not about court balances or any. You can't buy influence over the network. So the voting system is intended to be where it's based off blocks minted count, right? Which equates to time and contribution. So those with more time and contribution have more of a weighted vote. They've got more time invested. Ideally, they got a better understanding of the platform. They've got more vested, right? So that's the idea behind the voting system. But we
I
haven't
think I
launched
think
that.
voting. I
And
think voting is come to the time is valuable, and is really trustfully when everyone have connection to Kotal easily. To they can see what is in announcement when it's here, when it's there. And lots of people not in Discourse. Lots of people not in Telegram. They have connected with the all the sponsors. They
we
talk
need
to
an
them.
announcements board. We need
Yeah,
a welcome board. We need a
yeah,
sponsorship board. All of these things can come as soon as QApps are live, right? So we
yeah.
need all of these things and we also need like the actual voting system itself, right?
So
we,
let's finish off on that voting system part though, real quick. So number one, it was intended to be launched back in what, Jason, like phase 2, basically.
yeah,
But
like pretty
then,
much immediately, yeah.
right around the trade portal time was the whole era of when we had ideally on paper planning to launch this. But then the reality is it's still not here today due to the self sponsor. So backtrack. We've done one sweep.
We are
There's
behind, yeah.
intended to be a second sweep. At that time, we'll have gotten rid of that real first big batch of bad actors, and then we'll have worked towards a closer, more authentic group of voters. And at that point, we can then work to launch the voting system. And then again, it'll be based off that blocks minted count, right?
I think
So
we'll probably launch it before we do the second sweep. I don't think that they're going to have that big of an influence that it's going to be a problem at this point. We need the voting system to be able to make these decisions, and that's the thing. I refuse to make any more decisions based on anything other than the voting system, because that's the way that Qortal was supposed to be done, right? And yes,
Right.
you may not trust that people will vote
Gosh, it's putting us under
correctly.
so much scrutiny
I
because
know,
we
it
haven't had it.
sucks.
But
It
there's a whole
sucks.
reason why we haven't had
I
it.
know. Yeah.
But yet people have used that. It's been a double-edged sword, right?
I know. People
Man.
expect you to, oh, you're building a new concept that's never been done before. Oh, you better do it
Yeah.
perfectly, and it better just go perfectly, and everything should just be great immediately. Like, or they fucking like start talking bad shit. It's like
Yeah.
really, like really.
And usually
really.
it's just from a place of ignorance,
I know, but
and
it's
whatever.
still, yeah,
Yeah.
it's whatever,
But
man.
I think we don't have that much people, just a low percentage, and they are, the reason they don't see the whole picture of the,
They don't
Qortal.
want to. That's why. That's the only
I don't
excuse.
No,
think
because
So with that said,
corporate life, corporate or capitalist life, and the people, they are blind to what is going to happen with Qortal because they don't believe it, and they think we are in a certain time. They take advantage and make some money and leave. I said, listen,
mean,
we are not here for that. We are
the
not here to
platform
sell.
is very idealistic, right? And that's the main thing, where people think, it's too good to be true type thing, right? If they actually understand it, and they're going to be like, wow, it sounds too good to be true, right? And so they
right.
have to not only understand it, but they have to realize that it's not too good to be true, and it's actually a real thing, and that we've done the
You
majority
can't
of it
cast
already,
judgment
right?
on a set of
But I
false
think I
pretenses
think
or
with
lack of
his
understanding.
question about voting system, it was not about future. He's talking about today. The voting is like just like a group coming and say yes, 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 and yes. When I see somebody said yes, I follow those yes. So
Well,
he's
no, his
talking about more
misunderstanding was about,
details.
his
Mm?
misunderstanding was that it isn't based on time and contribution related to blocks minted. There was a misunderstanding that it was somehow your wallet balance would be factored into that voting power. So we
okay. So
I think
clarified
it
that.
was both. I think it was
the more
both
time you
because
have on, the more time you have on Qortal, the more power you have.
Right.
Okay.
More of a weighted
So
vote.
there's
Yeah.
still a problem with that because you can have multiple ghost accounts, that can
Yeah,
reach a certain
okay.
Yeah,
level
there's
to where
always
they
a
can
That's
way.
what
vote
we're
in the
talking
same day.
about with the self-sponsorship, and that has been greatly reduced, and
Yeah.
it will be almost eliminated in the
Yeah.
near future.
And no,
But
it
there's
sounds like a
honestly,
cop out.
there's
There's no
no
system's ever
way.
going to be perfect. It's always going
Yeah,
to be a way to finagle around this. But
right.
what's the incentivization? So, Jason, when it comes to the voting decisions by the community consensus, right? Ideally, bottom line is that this. I don't want to say this in the wrong way, so correct me, please. But the point being, these decisions will be taking into consideration community consensus for the developers to follow the will of the people. But at the end of the day, the dev team admins and people pushing these codes are going to ensure that it still follows a certain trajectory with a set of code of ethics, right? So we're not going to be proposing votes that are going to have the potential to like corrupt the project,
Right.
right?
So the
Yes,
Can you
idea,
explain your
exactly.
ideals on
so
that?
the idea is that the voting system will get the overall, consensus of the and what they think should be taking place.
What do you think? Yeah.
Then it goes
And it's
to
not
the
a doubt,
developer group,
right?
who has to decide whether it can be built as written or whether it needs to be modified first and put up for another vote, right? So say somebody comes up with an idea, it's a great idea, everybody says yes, right? But it gets to developers and they're like, this isn't possible to build like this. So then they have to go, okay, well, we could make it do this and this instead, and do this and this, and then it gets back to the community for another vote with the changes, and they say yes or no. Then it goes back to the developers again. If it gets approved, then it starts getting built, right? Then once it gets built, then it gets a final vote and final approval by the developer admins to be pushed in an automatic update, right? Just like the current automatic update system is, right? So it has to be signed by, at least 50% of the people in that group before it gets pushed live. So the community can't like break the project, right?
Yeah,
It
there's
has
layers of safeguards.
yeah, it's so the vote is just to get an overall idea of where the community stands on whatever given subject. And that's really like what it has to be. And the developers are the ones who are ultimately going to build this. So they have to be able to build it. And they have to, obviously the developers that we have now, they're of the same mind and they want the platform to be exactly what they want it to be. As we grow, we could potentially get developers who disagree and whatever, right? But we have to come to consensus on ensuring that the project stays as it was meant to be, right? So
Yeah,
yes, the
build a
community
solid framework.
will have an input, but that input will never be something that directly affects the project. Like it will, but not in a way like it. That's another thing where like I think like DAOs and so forth, I think it's
Right.
kind of
So we have a
stupid, right?
blog on
Yeah.
Qortal.org if anybody is not aware, titled "Qortal is not a DAO," and we explain what is a DAO and how they can actually be built on Qortal for community projects and things. But as far as Qortal itself, it is not a DAO, which basically just means our voting system isn't going to, have a vote casted and then that decision actually cause an update to the code base directly from the vote, right?
Right.
Our system's going to be different. It's going to almost be more like a poll, right? Taking into account community
And that's
consensus.
exactly what it's called on chain, just FYI. It's called
Yeah,
polling.
it really is a
Polls, yeah,
poll,
it is.
right?
Yeah, it's a poll,
Yeah,
yeah. Right.
yeah,
Because it's not meant to directly affect the platform itself, right? It's not meant
right.
to like literally decide what happens. In a certain few cases, yes. So there will be different types of votes, right? Like a vote for a modification, or a vote for a new feature, or a vote for just getting an idea of where people stand on a subject or whatever, right? But there will also be like the block reward modification vote, which will directly affect the code, right? So that vote in itself, since it's very specific and it does just one thing, could be coded to where that vote takes place, the vote happens, and the change happens, and then the update can be taken care of, with the update automatic sign, you know what I mean? Same way that it takes place now. So, but things like that can be pretty much directly to the code. But things like decisions and new fucking features and whatnot cannot be, directly created magically into code. And no, we're not going to have Chat GPT building code based on votes and like automatically. No, guys, no.
Yeah, I'm not saying that, the polling system, as you call it, is going to have a problem because of the Qortal side. I'm saying there's going to be a problem because of the human side. I can't even, you can't always judge, you can't trust a human's judgment all the time. And I know how you say, like, it's not going to be, you can code it in a way to where it instantaneously affects, the Qortal system, and, a change can happen instantaneously. Or on the other side, you can like have it to where it's just a poll and like nothing happens. It's all decided by the developers. But what I'm saying is, even if you like you put out a poll, how do you know you can trust the poll and the judgment of the people? You can't even trust.
There's trade-offs, brother. Think about it. There's no KYC, right? We're trying not to have like a dictatorship or a real small decision-making team on everything. So whenever there's an opportunity to cast a poll, obviously that's the best direction to go. Now, can there be some boogers that come in and try and just deliberately pick the least of the options? Possibly, and you're
No,
onto
it's not
something there,
that.
but
It can be like people, in their with right intentions, good intentions, but they're not, the smartest. They're not. You don't have,
okay,
they don't have good
casting a
judgment.
more intelligent vote, sure. But that's where I think before each vote, we should expect our our so-called leadership to actually, and there will be, right? Jason will have a write-up explaining what this
Right.
vote is for and what the options are and what's entailed.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
proposal is what gets voted on, right? So the proposal should have language in a clear enough way to explain everything to people,
Yeah.
even if they don't understand the technical side
options
of
and
it
the
or
trade-offs.
whatever,
Okay.
right? Yeah, and
Okay,
a video maybe,
they know
whatever, right?
exactly.
Yeah.
Let's say they know exactly what you're talking about, and they completely understand the poll and what you're asking. Even if so, it doesn't mean they're going to come to the correct conclusion, the correct
What is
answer.
the correct conclusion, right? Like it's about getting like overall opinion of the people. There is nothing that's correct about that. It's an opinion.
Because at the end of the day, the dev team is going to move in the correct direction. Right? So again, we're not going to have polls that are going to allow to sabotage the project. So taking
Yeah,
into consideration the community consensus and then using that to make a final decision on which direction the project needs to move, where we're basically having, people that we've elected into these, precious positions, right? Dev team admins who are following the will of the people. So, there's a strategy behind who, right, Jason? So basically, for starters, to take part in the whole process, you submit pull requests, raise your hand and show interest. Then eventually you can migrate over to the dev server. And as you prove yourself over these phases, you become a dev team admin. Now the responsibility of these dev team admins who have proven their character and intent, they are representing the interests of the people, right? And have to make judgment calls at the end of the day. But ultimately, it will always stay in line with a basic framework of principles, right?
right. It's
So
really about
let's say there's QTube, okay, and you guys put a poll out.
For the name, maybe.
Should we should we take out the dislike button, off of QTube? And everyone says 100% yes, take it out. If I didn't like that, could I say fuck that? Could I be like, could I just code my node in some way to where the
Q
dislike
apps are a
button stays
completely
on there or
different thing.
something?
Q apps are not, directly related to the project, right? So Q apps are individual. So you could
Well, it
take
was
and
just an
clone.
example, yeah.
Right. So I mean, yeah, I guess the ones that are built by the core
Like
team
if I don't
or
like if I don't
whatever,
like a change, what I'm saying is if I don't like a change, could I keep, my node the way I want it
as
instead
long,
of
I mean, if it's a core thing, like we're changing the consensus and we're changing the reward structure, stuff like that, and you wanted to keep the old version, yeah, you could fork Qortal if you wanted to. Like just keep yours running the old version and fork it and get people to run your fork. That's definitely a thing. But I mean, if it's not something that's directly related to the core of the project and like related to the chain and so forth, then if it's a Q app, for example, you could absolutely clone that Q app and make it do whatever you want, right?
Or
So
here's another one. How about just the UI itself? If you don't agree with like a certain layout so Drew, for example, has his own version of a UI that he's been building. So someone could also go to that kind of grand level, right? You could
right,
build your own UI that communicates with the core and build it
yep.
however you see fit, and people can choose to download and use your software version,
Ultimately,
right?
since
could you
everything
sell
is
that? If you build
everything,
if you build
go ahead.
a UI, could you sell that to people?
You can do literally whatever you want.
I mean, no one's stopping you. There's no
Because
proprietary
yes,
intellectual
that is
property related
exactly
to
open
Qortal.
source, man.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there's no
our
jurisdiction when
project
it
is
comes to that.
completely open, right? So this
Yeah,
means that literally anything you want to do, you can
yeah,
absolutely do it. Now, the only thing is, if you want the rest of the network to use your stuff, you can't
yeah.
obviously be on a fork of Qortal and expect the Qortal network that follows the main fork to be able to access your stuff, right? So that's the thing, right? If it's not like a very core level change where it requires like a fork and we're changing like the consensus or reward structure or stuff like that where it's like a hard fork, and if you don't follow this hard fork, then you're going to be on the old hard fork and you're going to be on your own, right? So yes, it's possible to do any of it, right? You could absolutely fork Qortal. You could do that right now. You could fork the whole code base. You could call it whatever you wanted. You could change the entirety of everything, build your own UI, do it
That's a
all if
very
you wanted.
dramatic
Right.
direction, right? So another one back to
Yeah.
his example. Now with
So
QTube, okay, so you don't like that we configured our cube design how you like it. Well, then that's where, as Jason said earlier, you could then, basically do a clone and have a duplicate Q app and then modify it as you see fit
All of
and
the
offer that in the
data can be
marketplace.
pulled exactly
Yeah.
like the main one or the original
Yeah.
one, right? There's no such thing as like an official Q app, right? It's going to be like, yes, there are ones that are built by the Qortal development team, but that's just all it is, right?
Yeah.
We built these ones as demos.
Those
Anyone
are still
can then
plugins
take
you have to opt into.
those demos, they can create another name, they can publish that demo on the other name, call it whatever they want, brand it however they want, change whatever they want. So say like I have Jason's videos, right? I want to take and I only want to show videos from this name, this name, this name, this name, and this name, right? So I take and I clone QTube, I change it, rebrand it to Jason's videos, make it so that it only can pull data from the names that I want to show that data from, and then it'll only show videos from those people, right? It's all
Yeah.
possible. Yeah.
So
For
bottom
sure.
line, when it comes to the voting system, no system's going to be foolproof, right? For starters, anybody can run a node and take part in all these other features and stuff. If they want to become a mentor, it's totally optional. By becoming a mentor, obviously you earn coin and you level up, but what you also get is a blocks minted count, which then means you'll be able to take part in the voting system, right? So only those who become level 1 or higher can take part to begin with. Then, ideally on paper, this makes sense. It's based on time and contribution. Now, the $1 million question with the voting system is it how foolproof is it? Well, obviously, there's trade-offs. There's no KYC, right? Doesn't require proprietary hardware, so on and so forth. So there's always going to be a bit of a trade-off and gamble, but the best solution that these folks have conceptualized is working off that time and contribution model, right? Other than that, I don't know how you can combat it and make it any more authentic. Now that's been
Yeah,
delayed
I'm just
due to
saying,
the
like, just
self-sponsors and making the duplicate accounts, so on and so forth with that angle. But now that we're resolving all of that, I mean,
I
what's
mean, I've also thought of potentially like putting votes into like subcategories and like when we have other leveling methods, having
right
certain votes
contributors?
get weighted a little higher because like say the vote is related to the minting system and they wanted to change certain things about the minting system. So the vote from the minters would count a little higher on the votes targeted towards things that are, for the minters, right? So then if you had a vote, say, for content creation modifications that would affect content creators, we have a content creator level, then the content creators would have a higher say on those things, right? Because it affects them more. So,
Great
I mean,
idea.
we could obviously like, perfect this more as time goes on. Like
Yeah,
people are always worried about the initial versions of things, which is fine.
right.
Yes, the initial version should be as good as possible, but ultimately it comes down to the fact that Qortal was built to evolve. It was
Yeah,
built to
everything's
outlive
modifiable
all of us.
organically.
It was built to be able to adapt to anything that comes up, right? So I mean, yes, the initial version is going to be as good as we can possibly make it at the time when we have, the resources and availability to make whatever happen, right? We're going to make it as good as we can possibly make it, right? But then it's able to be modified as time goes on and it's able to be, adapting to any given scenario and so forth. So it's, that's what it really comes down to is making sure that, we have the ability to make these things work in any given scenario and we can adapt to things that come up, right? So yeah, I mean ultimately it's nothing's ever going to be 100% ideal. We've made it as ideal as possible and as ideal that can work as possible, right? But ultimately it comes down to if people don't like what we're doing, they don't have to follow the main fork. If they want, they can literally create another copy of Qortal, call it something else, launch their own and do it their own way, right? I mean, we're doing it this way, and the people who want to, come along with us and see how well this method works, and then help us adapt as time goes on, and help us make changes and whatever, like, you know what I mean? Then they can do that. If they don't want to, like, nobody's making them do anything, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna stick with this version of Qortal. Yeah, to close that thought, I'm just saying
Jason.
be wary of the voting system when it comes to like the consensus of all the people on Qortal. I like
Yeah.
that idea to where like if there's like not a developer, what is it called, uh, a content creator voting system to where you can like vote with those, with that population. That's a great idea. But other than that, when it comes to voting as a whole, I just find it very flawed. and very easy to take advantage of. And
I mean, it's literally just getting like trying to get an overall like will of the people type thing, right? Like we want to understand where people stand on certain things, right? And
Otherwise,
so
otherwise, what's the only other option? Just the founders
letting us
and the
do
dev team
everything.
in
Yeah.
private,
Yeah.
because we've been doing that and fell under so much scrutiny.
Dude,
How
yeah.
it's a dictatorship and all this other drama. So I mean, there are trade offs to it. That's all.
Yeah. I mean, we're trying to
Again,
make
I
it
see
as good
what
as
you
we
guys are
can.
We're
saying.
really not
Uh,
yet on that voting, we just
Yeah.
voting just kind of private between all of us. But
Yeah, I
we
see what they're
didn't
saying.
come to that point.
I see their train of thought, and it makes complete sense.
Mhm.
But yeah, so I got
But
another
let
question.
me change the subject to get something really good out of this. I think Jason Wiki's completely done, and they got a gold backup for their coin. So, and I think we want to get a meeting to talk to you about gate getaway or gate.
Okay,
what
well,
they
the problem is anytime I see
Gateway.
something that says that they're backed by something, that immediately screams to me, "Oh my God, it's centralized!" Right? So, like, that's my main problem
Well, it
with
has
stuff
to be.
like that.
Yeah,
It
No,
has to be.
they have to
is
have a
it to
repository
order to
somewhere.
be able to we get to the wiki and everyone use a cord. So we do have to have a connection between us and them, and so as a backup
Yeah.
wallet, which is
So the problem is that I'm probably not going to be okay with that because
okay.
I mean, honestly, just to be honest, because anything that says that they're backed by anything like backed by gold, backed by silver, whatever, right? That means that there has to be a repository of silver somewhere
Yep,
controlled
like
by
a
someone,
physical vault.
which means
Yes.
that it's a
No,
semi-centralized
I
project.
am trying to cross my point. The Qortal or Cortain, to have the Visa card, which is with the,
oh, to
logo
provide a
of
fiat gateway
Qortal.
service.
Yeah.
She's
Yeah,
saying a
Okay.
fiat
Oh,
gateway
okay.
service.
Okay. Yeah. Cool. Okay. Yeah. We
and
can
Yeah,
talk
they
talk
about
are.
about
that.
that in private for sure.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
can talk
if
about
you can
that.
find a small bank that wants to provide a third-party fiat gateway service, there's
Yeah,
definitely
because
a
I
means
can
that
teach them
he
could be
how
drugged
finally
up.
to.
came back to me and he said, Rose, we are ready now.
Okay.
So
Well, I mean, if somebody wants to provide a gateway, like I would, happily try to explain to them how to do it in the most ideal fashion. But, that's really it. Like, Qortal's not going to be like directly involved in the gateway, but I can definitely help
Right.
them in, how to build it in the best possible way and to make it so that it doesn't, do anything that could potentially cause issues on the side of the user as much as possible, right? So I have definitely some input on subjects like that. Zeke, you had another question, didn't you?
Yeah. Let's see. Okay. So, how many blocks have been minted?
Go
At
to
the
explorer.com.
at the moment we are on block 1212821.
Yeah.
Block height. Okay.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
block height. That's the
And
latest block
how
that
much
the
core has been
ledger's
created?
working on.
You
You can see that on
yeah.
explorer.com as well.
Right.
EXQLORER.com.
Or
So
explorer.qortal.org or
total minted is just
cortex.live.
shy,
Somebody
Yeah,
tell me
I'm
that.
I'm looking at it. I'm looking at it.
5.5 million.
Put it in the
Yeah.
chat.
5.5 million basically. 5.499288.
we are very, very
5.5
good
million,
on a
huh?
cap,
And so, how
because
much core is it possible to make?
There is no total cap. There's only a cap on the amount of court that can be created per block, right? So there's a cap on the inflation, but there's not a cap on the total amount of court that will ever exist.
Yeah, I'm
So
just
yeah.
if
So if you look at it like
that
this, right?
sounds
Okay,
very
so
similar to like the fiat currency because you can make an unlimited amount.
yeah, no, not even close. But so check it out. If you look at it like this, right? So in the beginning, the price or the amount of court minted per block was 5, right? That is the maximum amount that will ever be able to be minted per block, right?
Right.
The maximum amount that will ever be able to be minted per block is 5. Now, the model started by going down by 0.25 every quote unquote 6 months in blocks until it reaches 2. Once it gets
Right.
to 2, it stays there unless a vote takes place and modifies it, and it can go up or down by up to 1 with an absolute minimum of 1 and an absolute maximum of 5. So if you just look at it like this, how long has the coin been live, right? Like what, we're coming up on 3 years, right? So we look at that and we say, in this period of time, given that we started at the highest and we have 5.5 million roughly, right? So you could say that that is roughly the amount that could be possible within the next 3 years, but it's going to be much less because it's going down. You can calculate it based on the total. You can say, calculate it based on 5 for the next 3 years, and you could say this is the absolute max that could ever happen. Then you could say, calculate it on the minimum, this is the absolute minimum that could actually happen. Then you could actually calculate right now because you know what the schedule is going to be for the next few years, and you could say what the total is going to be within this amount of time. Now, suggesting that it's like the fiat system is absolutely not correct, because there is no way to actually monitor how many fiat how much fiat currency is created and how much actually exists, right? They can give you an estimate, but it's wrong. They can say that this and this was actually destroyed and whatever, but it probably wasn't, right? So there's no way to verify what they're saying, and that's like the main thing, right? And there's so-called like inflation caps and all this shit. It's all nonsense, right?
So
Like there's
fiat, they can
yeah,
print whatever they fucking want at any
right,
goddamn time. Excuse my
yeah,
language. Like
right,
we have
exactly.
a
So
scheduled
not even
release
close to the
schedule
same.
that
Yeah,
kept. Yeah. So when it comes to the voting system, I linked Zeke. If you can look in Qortal text, we have a wiki page called Block Rewards and Distribution. So this will go over everything Jason just said as far as starting at 5 quart per block and how that reduced schedule works. And then once we get down to 2 quart, right, Jason? Then we
yeah,
open up the voting to determine, and there's a set of parameters with how that vote can work, right?
yeah.
And then here comes the voting system. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I
So
mean, ultimately, the
yeah.
worst thing that could happen is it could go up or down by up to 1. That's like the absolute worst. So if somebody's like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm gonna fuck with the rewards,
Safeguards.
it would take them like 5 or 4 years or whatever to get back up to 5, and then they would not be able to do anything else after that, right? So it's
Right.
like
Yeah.
it's really like if someone's trying to manipulate it that way, like okay, great, it's gonna take
So
you 4
regardless of the
years
voting
to
system,
get
the
nowhere. Like
max,
okay,
yeah, so the max quart per block will never exceed 5, depending on
right,
how it's voted, and it will never be lower than 1. And anything in between, from 1.25, 1.5, so on and so forth, between 1 to 5, those are the max and minimum locked in stone, block rewards that we can vote up and down to. Now, granted, when it goes down to 2 quart per block, then the community gets the vote if they want to go all the way up to 3 quart or down to 1 quart and anything in between with 0.25 increments, right? So there's already parameters set. So I know you keep bringing up this, this concern with the voting system and authenticity, but it's like there's already going to be safeguards, and that's one great example of how
right.
the team's going to be ahead of the curve. At the end of the day, it's nothing that will be. We're not going to allow anybody to come in and sabotage the chain. So yes, there is leadership that are in the right place and the right structure for the project to ensure the success of this project, at least in our lifetime.
Yeah,
You
and
I'm
know?
the
gonna keep
rules
getting
were
kicked.
yeah, sorry. The rules were there for a reason, right? Like we knew that obviously we can't just say, "Oh, it could be voted and it could be changed to basically anything," because that wouldn't work, right? There has to be a set of rules that the chain has to follow, right? Like it can't be like, "Oh, once it gets to 2, you can vote it and it can go up to 500." Like no.
Right.
Like
Yeah,
yeah,
that's too much
like
of a variable for people to
right.
take this project
So
seriously and
there are
adopt it.
laws. There are
Yeah,
laws where it starts at 5. That's the max that it'll ever be. And
ever.
it goes down to 2. And that's the theoretical minimum, unless the community decides it should be lower. If they
Well,
Right.
decide it should be lower,
unless
the absolute minimum is 1. You know,
so if we change the way minting is done, all of like this past conversation won't matter at all.
like what do you
Because
mean?
What?
well, because minting is based on like how much time your node has been activated and it's on, and how many blocks minted. Okay, what I'm saying is like, how do I put this?
So the minting system's not going to be changed. The only thing that gets changed within the minting system, number one, the terminology will vote on sponsorship versus mentorship. That's just verbiage. As far as modifying the minting system itself, um, we are addressing bad actors who try to self-sponsor, right? So that is just removing their credit of a blocks minted count but we cannot sabotage their wallet balances. But past that, there's nothing to really change within the minting system unless we want to discuss changing the amount of blocks required to reach each new level. Like, for example, level 5s are the ones who become elected as sponsors. We could entertain the idea of increasing that that blocks minted account, right? So instead of taking approximately 14 months, maybe we could push that out a little further. But those are kind of the only parameters we can use to modify the minting system, right,
So the
Jason?
minting system
Yeah.
can never be changed. So it's
I mean,
always
it
going to be blocks
could,
minted.
right? Like we could, like someone
Change
could
how, though?
propose
Well,
a
'cause-
complete and dramatic modification that changes everything, right? But I mean, I doubt many people are going to vote that into like reality. And even if they do, like it would have to be coded. It would have to be something that the developers
To
understood.
change it how?
It would take a
How?
really long time. Like I don't know, man. Yeah, what do you mean? Like
Yeah.
Well, because the sponsor issue is due to the minting system, because you can just make new accounts and then it's just based upon time and
I mean,
blocks minted. And so I'm just saying, like, can we just stop the way we're minting in the future? Not right now.
No.
In the future, is it possible just to stop
Well, you
minting?
gotta
but
ask
you have
yourself,
to have
though.
a solution too.
Well,
You
hold
can't
on.
just
So
say, "Can we stop
why?
minting?" Like
Yeah. So number one, why do we mint? Right. So we are choosing to run hardware to support the network, but actually minting is securing that immutable ledger. So we have a trade-off here. In exchange for providing hardware resources, we're earning courts. Right now, in order to address, people from having mining farms, which we call minting, but basically we have created another layer called sponsorship. So anybody level 5 or higher, as you know,
memory
is
proof
able
of
to
work.
sponsor people. Right. So, and we got memory proof of work to combat multiple accounts per device. Right. So there are these safeguards in place so that at least, because here's the trade-off, right? If we're not working towards, okay, what is minting though? Minting is not competing to sign blocks. It is rewarding every minter, every block for supporting the network. That's a
Yeah, it's
revolutionary
time based. It's
concept.
time based,
That's
right?
that's a revolutionary concept in
Can I
comparison to
talk
like
for a minute?
Bitcoin, where you're competing to sign the block and only the block signer is earning the reward, right?
So am I incorrect? Is minting is time
No.
based, correct?
Yeah,
Can I
it's
can I
the
talk
proof
for a
of
minute?
contribution over time and memory proof of work. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Please.
Can,
Go ahead.
can I
Hold
get a
on.
word?
Let
So
Luke say
can we
something.
ever
Can I
like
get a
switch
word
that
on?
out to where, what if like there's a point to where there's enough core in circulation, and
It's not about that.
Yeah.
minting at that
It's about
point becomes
Look,
incentivizing you to run a node and continue to support the network.
yes for
Because if
now,
there,
but it's
no,
not always gonna.
indefinitely.
Yeah,
No,
indefinitely.
indefinitely, bro.
Yeah.
Indefinitely. There is no end to that. We don't have a cap like 21 million
We
with
are
Bitcoin.
we
So
are
here's the
we
trade-off.
are
Hold on.
we are
So here's the
heading.
trade-off. So where
We
Bitcoin
are,
has fees and can keep the nodes moving forward once they hit their 21 million coin, Qortal aims to be virtually feeless. So in order to keep that incentivization, that factor comes from a perpetual minting schedule. Does that make sense? It's a trade-off there.
and Qortal is moving toward of universal base income. I mean, everyone have income. Everyone,
Let Luke
Sure,
say
we
what
hope
he's
to see
gonna say
that.
too.
literally everyone in whole world will be a part of it and will have. So one day when the court worth 1 million each, and you have 100 of them, and the people have to purchase to watch NBA on Q2,
Used in the marketplace.
and they have to use a marketplace to buy those court from you, which is 0.00001 to cost that movie that day. It's the same thing. Is whatever is, I'm saying, in my understanding, whatever USD or money people will do in future, it in the format of decentralization, court will do for the whole world.
Yeah, I don't agree with that UBI standpoint where everyone gets money like that. I mean, for now,
Yeah,
to,
that's
to
a sidebar
incentivize
point.
It's
you,
not
to
the
Yeah,
money
incentivize
that's
as
you.
the
that's not
asset.
the. So
Yes.
It's
here's the
really
main point
mostly
that we.
about supporting the network. But I
Yeah,
want to hear
yeah,
what
yeah,
Luke
yeah.
I want to hear what Luke has
incentivize,
to say here.
yeah, to incentivize you to like keep your node on. It's
You have a block
it's a great
reward.
idea. It's a great idea to to incentivize people.
Instead of the
To
mentors
keep it on.
earning from transaction fees, which for the record, the minimal transaction fees we have do go back to the mentors. but the idea of the platform is to be virtually feeless. So there's a trade-off here. If you're gonna be virtually feeless, how do you incentivize your mentors? Well, we have a release schedule that never actually ends, though. In comparison to Bitcoin, they aim to have fees, but they also have a cap and will stop mining at 21 million. So you see the inverted trade-off here?
That's
Yeah, I
right.
do. So
Mhm.
you put minting into place because you want more nodes out there. But what I'm saying is once we have enough nodes and people have enough core,
What
you
is
know,
enough?
Yeah, there's never enough, bro.
Yeah, it's regardless of enough. It's about keeping the incentivization moving to continue
so
running that
okay,
hardware.
what if everyone had like every person in the world has like a million core? Then like inflation's gonna hit and core won't be worth anything.
That's
It
So there's
doesn't
not
enough.
matter if there's
possible.
nobody running a node to keep the
We are
network
in a
moving.
low cap. It never
The way,
that
yeah,
happened.
the way, like the total, even if it was 5 core per block forever, there's no way that everyone will have that much core. It's impossible.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like, look at
we're
how many there
deviating
are. After
from
3 years, there's only
yeah.
5.5 million, man. Like,
We're just, and I mean this
nobody.
respectfully and with all love, but we're deviating from the real point here. It really boils down to something as simple as this. While Bitcoin has a cap and will be able to keep its miners moving forward by having those fees, right? Qortal is going to keep moving forward without a block cap, without a cap, and it's aiming to be virtually feeless. So it's an inverted trade-off with those two variables. It's really that simple. And by
It's
doing
perfect.
so, you keep
Perfect
the
example. Yeah.
incentivization for people to continue running a node, providing those hardware resources so that it continues to be more adoptable, more scalable. It's really that
Okay, in the
simple.
future, let's say in the future, 10, 20 years, we find out that there's a limit to how much core should be in circulation and being, minted. Is it possible to change that and completely stop that to
Why?
where
Yeah,
Bitcoin just
I don't
converts into
understand.
Satoshis, bro. Think about it this way. So Bitcoin then gets broken down into little micro bits called Satoshis. So if Court ever reaches that kind of real world use case, we could say it becomes Cortoshis. And we have
Yes.
0.001s just like
Yes.
Bitcoins one day. That's a great problem to have, brother. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
and it's when. It's not if. It's when. It will happen.
Yeah,
I still want to
we're
hear what Lutz has to say on this subject, though.
I mean, you guys have spoken about 10 other things, but since the
Just
time I wanted
minting,
to
bro,
talk.
minting.
Anyway, let Zeke, let me tell you, I think I understand where Zeke is coming from when he says he wants to eliminate the minting. He doesn't really want to eliminate the mining, right? I think what he doesn't like is the permissioned part of it, right? He just doesn't like the way it works, and that's why he's saying I want to end it. But that was like 10 years ago at this point. Uh, Zeke, the reason why this is a great setup, and I've been in crypto for 13 years. I wouldn't be here if I didn't like it. And I didn't think
Exactly. Me
it had,
too.
and I didn't think it had some type of use case coming, right? That's why I'm still here. Uh, or I would have just yelled at Crow because he's a friend of mine. So, uh, the way it rewards people is it rewards the proper people, right? So at this point in time, you tell me what miner will not switch to another coin that's more profitable, and totally ditch the coin they're mining now for more profit. None of they all do that. They all switch for profitability.
Yep.
There's actually algorithms out there designed to auto switch for you. So there is no loyalty from miners at all, right? Your coin hash rate could die in a day if something, if word got out that another coin was out with the same algo and blah blah blah. We've seen it all the time, right? That solves that problem. This solves that problem, right?
Great points. Great
There's no more
points. Yeah.
Exactly. Yep.
there's no more
It
fly
keeps
by
people
night.
minting court.
There's
Yeah.
no more fly by night miners. These miners are the users now. We've turned the users into the miners, which is proper because now you're rewarding the right people.
How it should be, man.
The people that are actually standing up a node locally in their home. Those are the people you want to reward. Not the people that are here and they got enough
Dude,
money to buy 500 video cards and those aren't the people
most
we want.
miners are
Those are
not
rich
even
people.
running nodes for the coin that they're mining. They don't run nodes. They just point their miner at a pool. They don't run a node. They don't support the project. They don't even get involved in the community. They do none of that. Qortal makes you do that. You
Yes.
have to join the community. You have to talk to someone in the community. You have to be part of the community, right? It's literally built to make it so that people have to
requiring a
be
human
part of the
interaction.
community. Yeah. And
Well,
that was
requiring
There's
And that's a
no
peer-to-peer
in a
showing that you
solution.
no
are.
in a Qortal is no fake market, no fake, minting, mining. It's just
Yeah,
everyone have their
I
own
wasn't.
minting.
I wasn't done yet, guys. Come on, come on. Come up for air.
You did a good
I know how I
job.
feel, man.
Yeah,
I'm
go
not
ahead.
done
You
yet. So,
you did a great job. It was perfect point you
so,
said.
so in the last 12, 13 years, there's been a myth that a CPU coin could exist. You know what I'm talking about, Crow, right? This
Yep.
the CPU coin that never existed.
The myth
Right?
that there will be a CPU coin.
Right,
Yeah.
a mineable CPU coin, and you see many projects still attempting to do this. Verus coin, where when Verus started, there, the whole reason why I got into Verus was it was a CPU mineable coin. I was like, get the fuck out, right? And then all of a sudden, we found out that people were mining it with, you know, GPUs. And we're like, what
It,
the fuck? I've been mining for months, and other people have been mining this shit with GPUs. They got thousands more coins than I do. And then when we switched over to GPUs, I gave them the benefit of the doubt. A month later, we found out people are mining this shit with FPGAs. And we're like, you can't win. You can't
that's
win
just
because
how it goes with proof of work. It will always go like that. They can think
Portal.
that they have an algo that only runs on CPU or whatever, right? But it will always, always be able to be adapted to run on GPUs, and then be able to
100%.
be
Yeah.
adapted to run on something
So,
else. Then it'll
so the
ultimately lead to devices built specifically for it.
so the
Yeah.
CPU coin was a myth, and a lot of people still chasing that myth. But you know what? If you look at Qortal and you take a good look at it, I think they solved the problem.
They did.
I mean, I
Yeah.
think a solution. I think a perfect solution is, it's always out there and it exists. I guess I'm bringing up like problems of the future, and I'm not totally explaining myself, perfectly. I'm still getting into this. I'm still learning the vocabulary and stuff.
No, you're doing great job because
Yeah,
you're
but
bringing
yeah,
a point and it
if I say
clears some
something,
points.
if I say something dumb, forgive me. I'm just,
No,
trying
it's
to
great, bro.
No,
We need
no.
we need these kind of questions because you're
Yeah, no, I
helping us. And
love it
can
when
I,
people
can I
come in and ask questions.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and don't let me get too rough, please. I mean it all in good fun and good love. But can I interject something? You made a comment. You think that there could be a perfect system. I want to just throw out my perspective. I don't think any system can be perfect if you want to, because there's trade-offs with everything, right? So if we're going to have the trade-off of no KYC, it's got to be open source. There's no proprietary hardware. it it's never foolproof, right? So if we're going to stick to those top three most important principles, there's always going to be a way to work around, the open source nature and not being KYC. So if we just take that into consideration, the whole purpose again of like the sponsorship, like Jason just said a moment ago. Number one, it requires a human interaction. So you can't just fire up a bunch of nodes and try and game the system with like a mining farm. Now, number two, you after you get sponsored, you could sit back and wait about 14 to 16 months and become level 5 and begin self-sponsoring a bunch of accounts. And that's a real aspect we have to
But
consider
we've
and
also
work
mitigated
towards,
that as much as possible, and that's all you can really do, right?
right?
Like you can
And we can
find
do that
out
again.
where the
We can
game
do it again.
lies, and you
Yeah.
can mitigate it as much as possible. And like even if okay, so now say a new mentor comes in and their whole goal is to self-sponsor, right? So they get their account up to level 5. All they can do once they get to level 5 is create 2 new accounts every 7,200 blocks. Now, that's going to take a considerable amount of time before they get to a point where they actually have any sort of real influence over the network, right? Like they can create those 2 new accounts, then every 2 new accounts, they also have to buy a new computer to run those 2 new accounts. And so it's a lot of time, it's a lot of money invested, it's a lot of effort, and to get them where. The only reason we had this problem at first, there were a few things, right? For one, we allowed people to come in at level 5 from Quora, right? So they started with the ability to sponsor. Number 2, we did not have the limit on either how many accounts can be assigned to a node, nor the 2 sponsorship limit simultaneously. We had a 5 sponsorship limit. So they could not only sponsor 5 at a time, they could also assign all of the keys to a single node, right?
Right.
So those 2 things combined, or those 3 things combined, made it really, really easy at the beginning to self-sponsor and to get a large number of accounts. Now, what we have done since then is gone through with the self-sponsorship algo, which tracked and caught the people who were self-sponsoring and removed their blocks minted by adding another portion to the database called blocks minted penalty. That blocks minted penalty does the exact opposite thing of blocks minted adjustment, which is what was given to add the blocks for the Quora people in the very beginning, right? It does the
So they're
exact opposite of that.
negative.
It gives them a negative, right? So
Right,
then
5
their
million.
effective blocks minted is their blocks minted minus the blocks minted penalty, right?
Which
and
is
so it
5
took
million,
away
You
right?
know,
their
Isn't that
ability
what it
to
was?
sponsor and mint, right? Yeah, it was
you know,
5
one of the
million. Yeah.
reasons, one of the reasons why, what caught my attention is because it's flexibility. And I believe, in my opinion, there's always a solution for everything, and there's a perfect solution for everything, for every problem in the world. And
That's highly optimistic.
Qortal's taking that next step, towards that perfection of a perfect solution in one category. So yeah, that's
Multiple,
why I'm
actually,
here.
hopefully, but yeah.
Can I
So
throw
I
out one
think
more thing too here?
Qortal is
What this
like
pain is
the
about.
tip of the spear, basically, when it comes to alternative systems and like different internets and like things like that.
Here's the most beautiful aspect to this whole minting topic. If you don't like it, you don't have to take part in it, right? I mean, this is a general statement, so just in general. I'm not talking to anyone in particular. I mean this in all good fun.
All right, you
If you
calling me
don't
out, huh?
like it, no, listen up. If you don't like it, you don't have to take part in it.
No
Okay,
one's
you have to
forcing
fire
anyone
up
to
a
anything.
node. Yeah, but as far as all the other peer-to-peer solutions with QDN and QTube and QApps and whatever, your wallets and your trading, you get to do all of that without having to be a minter. Minting is totally optional and only works in 3 main areas, which is you're building up an account level, right? You're earning coin for supporting the network, and you're getting a blocks minted credit, which equates to when you take part in the voting system. But you don't have to take part in any of that. Not a big deal, right? In the overall framework of the project, those votes and stuff are not going to, you not helping take part in those votes is not going to get in the way of you being a non-minter using this
Or even
infrastructure as you see fit.
building your entire
Yeah,
company or whatever on top of Qortal, taking
yeah,
advantage of the security and so forth of the infrastructure provided without needing
sure,
to be worrying about being a minter at all, right? And in the
right,
future, when we have the ability to install the Qortal UI comes bundled along with a light node, you'll be able to literally do everything, like take part in everything else on Qortal, except
and
for
here's
obviously
another
the
part to that.
voting and the
Yeah,
minting, but you could do everything else without anything else. So it's really
right,
it's really, we're not trying to force anyone to anything anytime, right? It's always about allowing individuals to have individual sovereignty in every regard, which means that you don't have to do anything if you don't want to.
right. And
All right. On
you
a
don't
separate
have
note,
to really adopt the coin if you don't want to. Yeah, you might have to scrounge up just a little bit to like register a name and what set up a couple groups or whatever, no big deal, right? But then past that, if you don't like the coin, don't like the minting system, you don't have to make use of it. And in the future, when you have the payment systems and it gets evolved to where you can accept any of the coins we built support for, if you want to build a business and take advantage of free hosting and having that sovereignty and making use of the coins we offer as a medium of exchange, you don't even have to choose court as one of the coins that you accept. So all that versatility will come down the pipeline here, right? To where if people are, for lack of a better term, if they're that ignorant or just don't, they see this and they don't appreciate certain things, don't want to take part, then they'll be in full control to not even entertain court or minting, right? But they can use this infrastructure and build into this ecosystem, providing that utility and value, so on and so forth, right? So it allows that
I have a
versatility to the individual.
Gee, I have a question. What is I know you are here, you're in our calls, and you for sure you have to have love Quartal. And
Mhm.
what is the reason like the people coming with a doubt or negative thinking, they still hanging there and they still there? I just want to ask if anyone have a doubt why they even here. And
You
That's a
guys, you mean
great
my perspective?
yeah,
Go ahead,
that's a
Jason.
great
Let's hear yours.
question. Like
Jason, what do you think?
I personally feel like the people who are here that are doing negative things on purpose, they obviously still like the platform, or they wouldn't be here, right? They're just
Exactly.
trying to cause negativity just to see if what they try to cause will cause any issues overall, right? They're just doing it literally for
I
fun,
understand,
and
but I just want to
that's what
know
I've
what the
seen. Yeah.
gain. What the
All right, let me.
gain.
All right,
Hmm?
look, I have a different spin on it. And I
They're
mean this with
trolls
all
who
love
want
and respect.
attention.
I
Hmm?
still have a different spin on that too. With all love and respect, there are people here who have invested into this project who are not able to liquidate. They're in the negative. They can't exit if they wanted to. All right. There are in fact some people that are disgruntled. They see a dictatorship. They see a lot of things that are really based on a place of ignorance, a lack of understanding, and that's kind of our fault to not build more transparent means for capturing those moments, I guess, maybe, right? If we're trying to be super humble and, accept the blame for everything in the world. But point being, there is, in fact, a base of users, however big or small this is a moot point, all right, who are not able to actually exit. So if they bought in at $1 or higher or whatever it may be, they may be frustrated that they can't exit even if they wanted to. So they troll and they complain. So on and so forth. So I just want to throw
That's
that
not
in.
necessarily true either. Like, how many projects that they're not able to exit? They can absolutely
I'm
exit.
saying,
They're
I'm
just
saying,
not able
I'm
to
saying
exit at the price that they want right now, which is like,
that's what I mean, though.
how
Without
many projects have you bought
exiting,
into and then
I
the
know. I
price
say
goes
that.
But
down
this
and
is
you
the
get out
same.
when it's
I
lower?
say that in the
It's called
Very.
taking a
context.
loss.
I
Like, that's
say
I know,
that
just
in
but
the
like,
they are
yeah.
the same people what a Bitcoin for 65,000 now is like with 25 or even all the way to 15,000.
Right?
It's the
Okay,
same thing. Is they
let
are,
me finish this
are
point.
huh?
So I would just say it boils down to this, though. There is also for us to consider an element of a user base who don't feel they can exit because they would be taking a loss if they cashed out. Meanwhile, they have invested time and energy into this. There has been a lot of FUD, FOMO, whatever you want to call it, where people are making price predictions and this, that, and the third. And there's a trade-off there. On one side, we'd love to hear, like Jason, for example, his perspective on where the price could go and whatever. On the other side, though, it can be a bit misleading for people to absorb some of these things and jump on a bandwagon. So there's a trade-off there. On one side, we want to hear his perspective and predictions. On the other side, it can be deemed as a bit irresponsible and not appropriate. So it's hard to make everybody happy, and that'll always be, the roller coaster ride of anything, right? I just wanted to point out, though, when you asked me that, I think that whoever these bad actors are, they're disgruntled for some real reason. I don't see it as, oh, they're just looking to troll and play around. I see it as some people are genuinely disgruntled, and it's probably largely
Over
from a place of
things,
ignorance.
yeah, over things that they like,
Right.
they
From
caused
a place of ignorance.
themselves. Yeah,
Right.
like
So let's
it
just
is
not make
not
it
our
all,
fault
rainbows and unicorns here.
if
Yeah.
you buy
We
in
have
at a
boogers for a
price and
reason.
then the open market goes down lower. Like, this is what happens on every open market. Like, you have a risk involved if you're worried. Now, this is the key,
Yeah.
right? If you're worried about getting back into US dollars at whatever point, then you have to be concerned about that kind of thing. Now, if
Sure.
you're not and you are investing in your
Yeah,
future,
exactly.
then you don't care because you got court. That's what you wanted, right? Like,
That's all you wanted.
if you
Yes,
look at
that's
it
all
that
you
way
needed.
and you're investing into your future and you're not concerned about an immediate profit in the next couple months or whatever, then who cares? The price you're paying anywhere near down here is ridiculous. It's free, basically. So if you got in
Yeah.
any price that it's ever been, even up to $4.50, if you got in under that, you're golden. I promise you.
But
Yeah.
Jason, I just want to clear this point. The people bought it $4.50 court. They sold the Litecoin for $400, not for $80. The price of court
Sure.
came down base of the Litecoin, base of Bitcoin price, all this dropped. We
Right.
did not lost the price. We did
Yeah,
not
Well,
lost the
it's
we
value.
have. So
yeah. I
from a
mean,
from a so
technically in
okay.
US dollar value, yeah,
So
like because we do
let's look at
calculate
the
that
real
US dollar value,
let's
so
look at the
it's
real
Court,
taking that
yeah
into
court,
let's
court,
consideration.
look at the real history back in May, right? So in
yeah.
May, we see the Luna phenomena. We see Luna collapse. So with Luna, it kickstarts where all the markets, Bitcoin, Litecoin, all of these markets start to tank, right? The price goes down.
Yes.
So in Qortal, we've maintained the same relative range of trading at like 0.01, 0.08, right? Whatever that real number was in there, the range of trading between Court and Litecoin, it maintains some relative stability. Okay. So my point being, immediately when all the other markets are tanking, we did not see that happen with our actual trade portal. So when Corsians come in and they're going, why is Court losing all its value? It was actually from Litecoin's value tanking with its
Exactly.
relation to US dollar. Now, just to finish off though, all right, we saw a slow trickle down since then over that period of time. And I think there's a couple of factors. My opinion is one aspect has to do with there were multiple different platforms that began to fall apart. We know about BlockFi, we know about FTX. You can name about 4 or 5 different main ones that fell apart last year. So while there was more growing skepticism in the space from people in general that are a bit ignorant and just jumping in. Like I got family that, hey, last summer they're like, hey, should we buy Bitcoin? I'm like, honestly, I'm not that big of a fan of it, and I find it a bit volatile, and I don't own Bitcoin for a reason. And I just explained a different perspective that I hold. Now, that's no disrespect to the Bitcoin maximalists, and to each their own. But I'm just saying, I have a different perspective on that. So the first
I
aspect
I
is,
I I think
let me finish this.
this is what I think.
All right.
Bitcoin price is going down. All the other coin prices going down, but they don't have nothing value like Qortal have. Our price went down because base of the other coin price went down, but they are developing, keep developing. We keep developing, that is our assets. Our project
Yeah.
is our assets.
Yeah.
And
So
but
what
I
I was
think
so from my perspective, those two things, right? Number one, you got third-party markets that tanked that really began back with Luna in May. Jason and I bought a substantial amount of Litecoin in end of April, and lo and behold, in May, we lost over like 60% of its value, and it created this great big fiasco in the third-party marketplace where all the values of the coin started to drop. So the main thing I love highlighting real quick is even Corsians came in asking about why the price is so cheap. Well, number one, they're looking at the Explorer with a dollar value price, which is only based on Litecoin's value to US dollar. And if you looked at the actual trade portal, those trade values were relatively stable. It didn't have an immediate effect. The second part is since that period on to today, we have seen a slight decrease over time. And I believe that the third party markets have factored into that overall, as well as we had our own issues, which you could say like political issues, right? We've had the self sponsor issue, and we still have the boogers that are dumping their coin because even though we implemented the blocks minted penalty, that did not tamper with their balances. So there is an immediate effect as far as
I
what's going
think
on
I
with a trade
I think
portal, right?
what I am saying, like, if you look at the market of real estate, you see the prices stop dropping when Bitcoin price went under 20,000, because Bitcoin people were not trading. They were not putting their assets on sales or anything or trade. So now the price is coming back. What is that, 28,000 today, 25? I didn't see it today, but just coming back now. You see lots of pending in real estate. You see the market is changing. So Litecoin price is going up, other strong coin, and I see that Court will go up too. So we are in a good shape, and as long as we developing our blockchain technology, the whole blockchain, I think we are in a great shape. I think I really, as Luther said, if it was anything wrong in this platform, I would not be here. I would not be here. I'm 13, 12 years in cryptocurrency. I know exactly where we're heading. We are in great shape.
From the average Joe's point of view, the average Joe Schmo, that's not really a tech guy. I've seen the fluctuation of crypto, of the crypto space as a whole, and I wasn't really buying into it. But Quartal really caught my attention, and it's the only coin that I own, and it's the only coin that I'm planning to own for the foreseeable future. So yeah, I don't really care about Bitcoin or any of these other coins at all, to be honest with you. I'm just a Qortal guy, and that's it. So yeah.
So
Thank you.
congratulations for
We
that.
respect it. We really appreciate your support, dude. Seriously, each and every one of us, together we are the chain, and it sounds so hippie and silly, but there's some real value to that, right? And how cool that we have this opportunity to really interact with people like Jason. And he turns out to be a very down to earth, humble guy.
Oh yeah, dude. That's
You
why.
get to know. Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of the reasons why I'm here, bro. Yeah, because
Yeah.
you couldn't speak to any of these other developers. They don't care about you. They don't want to talk to you. But that's why Qortal really got my
Or their
attention
projects
because
are just a coin and a ledger, and it's no disrespect or dissing these other projects, but like where's the real value?
You know what,
There's only so much a coin can offer.
G Factor, I tell you, I want to tell us one thing before I go. It feel like 3 years ago, when we had this platform start launch, we could just have us as an owner, and we started, we didn't care about giving to anyone. We just like a Bitcoin, do the give the machine, sell the machine, whatever, to mine. And we were not in this situation, but what we did, we share everything with everyone. We hustle everything, we work hard. We didn't, we try to survive. We stay on top of water as much we can. We cheerleader everyone. We really work. I was working about 20 hours a day, trying to everyone, sponsoring people. So what I'm saying, if people look at this, they will say, we really compromise. We did. We really
Yeah,
satisfies. We did.
for sure.
I
Yeah,
am
there's a
not
lot of stuff that
using
goes
maybe
off the
perfect
record that
English,
hasn't been
but I hope
publicized.
you guys understand. We could 3 years ago, we could launch only we be like that 15 or 18 founders. We get like all of it and we sell the coin to everyone. But we didn't. We give it to
to end
everyone.
that thought, one of the main reasons why I stuck with Qortal is because I seen the human interaction with Jason and G, and how they're real people. You guys are real people, and you can have like the best tech in the world. It can have all the whistles and bells and all that, but if the people behind the tech are bad actors or aren't good people,
And selfish, yes.
and you shouldn't even think about joining that system or whatever it is. So I think I was mainly sold on the humans behind Qortal. Qortal is cool and all that. It's awesome. It has everything you would want. But who's behind Qortal? What are their intentions? Can I hear them speak? Can I see their faces? How they how do they interact with other people? And that's what got me into. That's what bought me. That's what that's what got me here.
Because
Thank you for that.
you are Qortal. You are part of us. You are our partner.
Yeah,
The
appreciate
good
it.
things I tell everyone, we all partners. We
You know,
all partners. There's nobody own Qortal, nobody higher than other ones. There's
no
only
one
somebody.
owns Qortal. Everyone
Yeah.
owns Qortal, right?
That's the
But
only way to make it sustainable.
one thing, like, so along those lines, like even me, like as the quote unquote, like one of the founders of this project, even me trying to reach
You are
out
the
to
founder,
other
yeah.
projects, like trying to get another project to even send an email or reply to me in any way has been essentially impossible. And I find that to be complete freaking bullshit. Like, and so I want to be the exact opposite of that. I want to, if anyone sends me a private message or anyone wants to talk to me for any reason, they should be able to do that. And now, as things go on and it gets like to where we have millions of users, obviously I won't be able to reply to everyone perfectly every time, right? But
Just your favorites.
I will always give my attention to people who are looking for it, right? Like I'll always try to reply. I'll always try to be as like available as possible, right? And I think that that's something that really sets us apart. And I'm glad that you noticed that, because that was something that I have always wanted to make sure that was a thing. Like I wanted that to be a thing in Qortal. I wanted people to be able to come in and talk to the people who are actually building it, because you can't do that on other platforms. I've never been able to do that with any other platform, and I think it's garbage. Like that's not
I
how a
remember
community-based thing should work, like at all.
I remember
Right.
the moment. I remember the moment where like I was like, holy shit, this is the real deal. Made by real people. I think I was listening to Alpha Vedic or something like that, and then I seen you guys on there, and then I was checking out the Telegram, and I was like, holy shit, Crow and G are actually on here talking to people. And then I messaged you both directly, and you guys respond to me like within, a few minutes. I was like, yeah, this is a real deal. These are real people trying to do
Nice.
right. And I was like, yeah. Ever since that, that moment, I was like, yep, Qortal's. I'm in Qortal. I'm gonna try to help Qortal out in any way that I can.
I'm really glad that you said that, because I'm not sure how much that actually is an impact for people, like, but I always do my best to make sure that I make it as personal as the people want it to be, right? Like, and so like I'm really glad you said that. I appreciate
Dude,
that. Yeah.
it's why I'm here, bro. Because you
I
messaged me on
appreciate
Telegram
it.
and screamed
Jason,
Jason.
I am very hard
What's his
to
name? And
get,
G too.
man. I am very hard to get. You got me.
Well, good. I'm glad, like, something is working out the way that I expected it would, right? Like, I don't like the fact that you can't get in touch with any of these other so-called, like, they're supposed to be a decentralized thing. Like, these people are not supposed to be like, oh, I'm the CEO, I'm untouchable type shit. Like, what
Exactly,
is
bro.
that? Like,
Yeah,
that's
unless they're joking
nonsense.
around.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
right?
was it was
Yeah,
completely
The
it was
first thing
completely
I
alien
fall
to
in
me.
love with
right.
Jason when was done to Earth. He was done to Earth when I did a conference call the first. I didn't know. The Fred was texting me for 6 months and say this. I couldn't understand what he's talking about, man.
Uh-huh.
He's just when I came first call with Jason like, oh, this is it. This is it. And I said, would you please put this in video because you're too smart for me. You're too smart.
Yeah, well, and I do plan to do like more walkthrough type videos, but I'm kind of just waiting a little bit longer before I start doing that, because if I do it now, then I'll have to redo them all as soon as we launch QApps, and that's always going to be a thing. But I think once QApps is launched, I'll have a lot more that I can like start demoing and walking through, and won't have to like
I think
redo them
next we
immediately.
have a
But
Q talk. We have a
Yeah,
Q talk.
I have some
Huh?
comments.
yeah,
I have some
TikTok,
comments.
like a Q talk. We get a Q talk, and Jason come and with all the girls.
well, I think, well, we will be
All the
able to
girls.
do, these
You have my attention.
meetings actually on a Q app in the future, right? So like,
Yes.
and
With a
that'll
gateway
like,
for
yeah,
regular
well,
folks,
I mean, yeah, that too,
maybe?
but yeah, I'm saying like for people to like who are in the community already to be able to jump in and communicate like we are here now. A serverless WebRTC setup is definitely possible. Now, like doing that in a
That'd be
way
cool
that
for
it's
those that
going to
are
work
out and about.
perfectly. Yeah, for
Yeah.
Qortal is going to be like, not extremely simple to make happen, but it
Okay.
will be a potential thing that'll take place in the future, right? Like, so anything that you see on the traditional internet will be possible. Now, you also have to take into consideration that, like, since Qortal is focused on being an infrastructure platform, right now we're also building all of the apps on top of the infrastructure too. So it's like our development team is basically doing everything right now, which makes it a lot harder and also makes it so that we have a lot of different focuses, and we don't like we're not able to just sit there and focus on building the actual infrastructure and the back end and so forth. Like, we have to actually build the demos and all of the front end and everything else all at once. So like people wanting more improvements on this one specific area or these changes or whatever, like, yes, it'll all take place, but we have to like prioritize and put our limited dev resources on top of the things that make the most sense and the things that the devs are already like deep in. So I don't want to like have the devs get deep into one thing and then say, oh, nope, sorry, we need to do this thing now. And then they have to take their head out of that space and put it into another space and start working
Yeah.
on that.
That only
It's just
stresses
like,
them out.
yeah, I'm trying to keep the devs as happy and like taken care of as
They're
possible.
hard to
And that
keep because
includes,
they're not on the
I
real
know,
payroll.
dude, you know what? Like the main problem that I've seen in every other project that I've been involved in is the fact that the devs lose interest and then disappear. Now, if that happens, the project is dead. Like that's
Right.
that's the death of a project, right? If you don't have developers, you're done, right? And
Yep. Or
so
a company gets to
the
come in
main
and take
focus
over.
that I've
Look at
always
Bitcoin.
had,
Bitcoin's ran by a company.
right? The main focus that
Yeah.
I've always had is keeping the developers happy, right? And that, I think, after all these years, I've been pretty decent at least making sure that that takes place, right? So yeah, I mean, and that's always been the most difficult thing with any other community project that I've been involved in, and I've been involved in quite a few. The developers, if you lose your developers, you're screwed. Like, and so the fact that we still have ours and that we're growing and there are more coming in, I feel like we're doing really well with that, and I'm really happy with that. Of course,
The
we'll
reason our
always want
develop
more, but
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
the
I have some
reason our
comments.
developer is for outcome, not for
Speaking of
income.
devs,
Right.
we need help with the dev fund. Got to plug
Yeah,
that in
that fund
again.
definitely
Okay,
needs
I
some help,
have a
guys.
question. I have a question, Jason. I know I heard like, we need developers. Can we do like a 1-day class for we can do the marketing for developers like in the schools or
I mean,
university and
no,
what?
not yet.
Hmm?
No, we don't have the dev
No.
time for that yet. Not yet. But yeah,
Okay.
in the future, absolutely. And we'll also like, so I am planning myself to start like really going over the base level tech details and start writing up some technical documentation. So that will also help with getting developers who can just jump in. But yeah, like we don't have the
If
developer
we have
time
something, if we
to
have
build some
something
sort
to
of
we can,
school right now.
yeah.
We will in the future. Yeah, absolutely. Because
If you have
obviously you do
something for
have to do some learning.
developing idea, like a marketing
Yeah.
developing idea to we can just send it to the, all
Yeah,
the
I mean, the thing is that you can't just like okay, so on the UI side, it's probably a little bit easier to just jump in and start like working on it or whatever. But like if you wanted to be a core developer for Qortal, there is a lot you have to learn first, even if you're like a brilliant Java developer. You have to
Right.
learn Qortal. Like it's not just as simple as knowing Java, right?
you're
It's
right.
like you have to learn Qortal. It's a
It's a
very
unique code base.
specific thing. It's a very unique thing, and you can't just jump in and work on it, right? Like so like yes, we will have to have like a way to train new developers as time goes on. Right now the way that we're doing that is if the developer shows interest and they start like they can do a pull request and add like little simple things that they can do. Once they do that and they can like start demonstrating their skill level, the ones that are able to start learning in a deeper fashion can join into the developer server, and then we can start having them learn that way. So
What
yeah.
I was thinking, Jason, because I was thinking if we send them marketing in universities or colleges, and because everywhere is blockchain school right now, and they can go to the class. If you have like every example Wednesday class, they can
Most blockchain
go
schools
and
aren't teaching Java, though, are they? They're teaching what, Jason?
Yeah,
teaching
I mean,
blockchain in the school.
it's probably
Well, different
overall like
language though.
blockchain. Yeah, it's gonna be C or
Yeah.
like Solidity, the fucking
Typically not
because
Java.
If you Google it
everyone's
right
focused on
now, you
building
say what is
so-called smart contracts, dumb contracts on Ethereum, which it's like,
All right,
dude,
you got him
fucking
triggered
A,
again.
man. Yeah. Anyways,
No,
so
I went
Zeke
to
had another question, right?
university. I went to university and I talked to the professor. I said, "What you guys teaching to what level?" He said, "We only use a minimum to until whatever it is, whoever going online and learning." Which I told him about Qortal, and he looked at it. He looked at it. He said, "That'd be great if we have a class or something, so we
I
can
mean, in
just
the
come."
future, that's totally a possibility, just not right now. There's no way we have the resources for that right now.
You got it.
Hmm.
Just a question.
Yeah, for
How's
sure in the
your?
future. I'd
Oh,
love to, and I'd love to put together a class for kids to learn Qortal too.
And
yeah.
so with
And I,
that said,
yeah,
when a lot of people say, "Hey, I'm a developer," the first question you got to ask them is, "What languages do you know?" Because if they don't know
and
Java,
also,
they got to go all the way back to that, or they got to jump over to JavaScript. Now, Jason, can't they also contribute beyond JavaScript? Because we have some parts of the UI that are also in what C plus and one other.
well,
There's two other
I mean, not
bits,
really. The majority of the UI is JavaScript.
so it needs
It's
to be
Node.
JavaScript moving
Yeah,
forward.
right. That
Right,
if you're talking about working
Node.js.
directly on Qortal, yeah. Obviously,
Right.
the stuff published on QApps and so forth can be any client-side language. So the primary ones HTML, CSS, JS. But anything that's client-side will work. Like you can
This
host
part,
anything client-side. So yeah.
I think this
Okay.
part I'm telling just but to cheer the developers, Qortal developers, because some people come to me and they said, "Oh," I said, "Watch it, learn it, and see what you think." And they come back and say, "Wow, you guys is so advanced.
Yeah.
Your developer is crazy smart." And
Hmm.
who is this guy? I said, I said, he's Jason.
Yeah, I am not the developer, but yeah, the developers that we have are freaking amazing. Like all of them who have contributed to the code base are absolutely incredible developers. Like we
You mean
are
it's not
super lucky to have
multiple
them.
code bases that are piggybacked off to make Bitcoin?
Right? I know,
What?
right? Yeah.
Can
Crazy
I say
idea.
something? Can I say something? Can you guys come up here for a second? So just to give you guys an idea of how good they are, they actually came into Pirate. Oh, actually, we Forge went to them, but in their server, they actually helped upgrade Pirate's wallets.
Nice.
So yeah, so that
Yeah,
and that's
after like
and Pirate
barely
didn't do it.
learning it, which is crazy. Yeah, they're freaking amazing. Yeah.
So that's how good they are. They are very capable.
The great things about them, they are down to earth. They're down
Yeah,
to
that
earth. They
too.
don't have no ego. They don't have like me. They are there for respond and answer everyone, and they are wonderful. I love them.
Yeah, for sure. Like we are super lucky with the developers that we have.
Hey, have you guys been on the Timcast podcast?
On a what? Never heard of it.
Timcast IRL? Never heard of it.
No.
Let's see if it's on our wish list.
But to be fair, I've like never heard of anything unless people tell me.
So we have a wish list in the marketing general channel if you want to refer to that. But are you saying you might have a lead?
Talking about
Timcast?
Tim Pool. Tim Pool.
Yeah, Tim Pool's on our wish list. I'm looking at it right now, actually.
And also,
but I don't see that we've reached out yet.
Yeah, Crow 777 is another one.
I think I've talked with him already.
Bro, yeah, you've talked to that one.
Saul Luckman was involved with them.
No,
Crow
that's
777 Radio.
That's Crow Rising. Yeah, that's Crow Rising.
It's different. Okay,
Yeah.
so yeah.
CRROW 777.
Yep, there it is.
Yeah, two R's, 3 7s.
Well, I mean, the thing is we can have as many people on the list as possible, but if we don't have a way to get in contact with them, that's always the thing.
So with that said, you guys, we're actually trying to keep track of. So point being, number one, if anyone is willing to submit requests to these platforms, please do so. And if you do, if you could message me and let me know that you've at least done so we can kind of stay organized and know which ones we've attempted to reach out to. It's just an idea, you don't have to. But if you do choose to let me know, then I can at least add that to our notes over here in the marketing server that we've actually we have a wish list channel, we have a pending request channel, and we also have a confirmed or denied channel, right? So I'm hoping we can kind of get more organized with our wish list here for interviews. Yeah.
Okay, so have you reached out to Crow 777 yet?
I don't think so.
Hold on, Jason? Didn't you do an interview with Crow?
I think it was a different one. I don't know.
Well, I always get tripped up with Rice Crypto, but hold on a second here.
I don't think I've done one with them yet.
Yeah, because there's Crow Rising and Crow 777.
Yeah, I did Crow Rising.
Oh, Crow Rising. Okay.
Yeah,
That's what it was.
So, and I'm gonna do another with Saul Luckman here in the near future. But honestly, like I've been kind of like holding off, like having people kind of hold off on reaching out to the bigger ones and so forth.
And the Q app.
Yeah, Q apps really is the key because, like, right now, we have.
That's less than 30 days out if we're lucky.
Right? Yeah.
What are
like,
you gonna
really
do
close,
when
right?
your coin is worth $1,000? No, forget
Well,
about
I'm just gonna keep doing the same thing I've been doing, except not being.
With the Q app coming out.
Yeah, like it's really like I won't
upcoming weeks.
Anything. Like I won't change anything.
Weeks.
If everything goes all of a sudden worth a whole hell of a lot more, I really won't change anything. I'll just keep doing what I've been doing, right? Like that's it. The whole goal is just to make the platform get accepted by everyone, right? Like so, it's really like nothing will change other than the fact that we'll be able to pay developers what they're worth, and we'll be able to not have to worry about nonsense, right? Yeah.
That's why you are here, Jason. God wants to be here. You know that.
Apparently, because this platform, there's no way in hell it would have come together any other way. Like, it was literally a miracle that we were able to launch. Like, so, yeah.
Just God wanted me to be part of it.
Yeah, I had
anyways,
comment.
yeah, go ahead.
I had a comment, 10 subjects ago, but we probably run out of time, so I'll probably just bring it up next week.
Say it.
Yeah, go ahead.
Say it.
Yeah, it's been like 2 hours already. Yeah, I'll just probably wait till next week. It's pretty long.
You can just start it. We think about it.
Yeah, like normally this thing goes on a lot longer, but I like
Yeah.
to stop the recording about 2.5 hours at max. So I kind of want to like stop the recording now if possible. Someone else will probably record the rest if they want to publish like parts of it or whatever. They can do that, but I like to just like kind of keep it as like not like running
Tolerable
all
for
day
the
type thing. Yeah.
for
Yeah,
listeners.
so I think I'll stop the recording here, my recording. Someone else can go ahead and continue recording if they want to, and we can take pieces of it or whatever. But yeah, I also have some other stuff I got to get to, but I can stick around for a little longer. But yeah, thanks guys for coming to the meeting. Tell more people, get more people coming in. I want all the questions. I want
Thank
every
you.
single question that everyone could possibly ask. I want everyone to come in and bash me in the head with questions, and so that we can figure it all out, right? Like I want everyone to understand this, and the only way that they're going to understand is by asking these questions. So I really appreciate it. I appreciate the comments and questions. Zeke, you did a great job leading this discussion today. And
Poetic.com.
yeah,
Appreciate it.
anybody needs a node, Croatic.com. We've got rebuilt
Yeah.
laptops now, and the
Bought one.
Protector, of course. Yeah, we've got a lot of stuff coming on over there. I'm gonna get some more going on over there too. But yeah, thanks guys, and we
And
will see you
Qortal
next
Wiki.
week.
Catch you guys later.
Thank
All right,
you.
yeah, my recording is stopped, but yeah, you can go ahead and ask the question anyway, man.